Sarium!
Hello, and welcome to a Happy Salad podcast. Without Dan.
Yep.
My name is not Dan Train, who would normally be hosting this. My name is Robert Kemp, and I'm joined here by the usual idiot, Zachary Burgess.
I'm very usual.
But we're also joined filling the extra seat. Well, it's not the extra seat because we don't normally have
a seat, yeah.
three people in the same position when we do this recently, but we have Kippers.
The unusual idiot.
We have Richard Kemp, or DJKippling, or Kippers, or the other man with the beard.
Podcast!
Yes.
Yep.
Who likes doing a weird Zoidberg impression whenever he says podcast. Stop the podcast! So, yeah, Dad's not with us because he says he is unwell in some form. I think he said he had a cold. Which probably makes him all snotty and sniffy, more so than usual.
More so than usual, yeah.
I mean, none of us are particularly great for that.
No.
We're all horrible. Just in general. But, like, as I was writing the message to him, like, a second ago, saying, I wanted to say, like, get well soon or something. But get well soon sounded too, like, I don't know, a bit too pansy, like, not very manly.
Get well, you fucker.
Yeah. Well, I just said get well, and it's like, does that sound too commanding?
Get well.
Yeah, just finger point.
What would you say, Kivers?
Just people say be well to each other, don't they?
Do they?
Occasionally, and that's the same thing.
I don't tend to say people get well.
No, I
just
exactly.
Say, sorry to hear that.
I'm not all about platitudes. It's just like...
That's my beer.
Oh, there's your beer. I'm not going to drink your beer.
It's like, I don't give a shit about platitudes and social conventions. Fuck it.
Well, that's true. We know that about you.
Yep.
You don't say bye.
No.
We have a hard time squeezing that out of you at the end of a podcast. Or a video. Or anything on tape. Or not tape. Digital tape.
Close enough.
So yeah, Dan, we command you, get well. There. I've done my niceties.
Sort of. In a way of exclaiming how not niceties they were.
How's everyone's week? You having a good time? Kippers, tell us about yourself.
What do you want to know?
Yeah.
Well, we haven't had you on the cast for well over a year.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn.
I'm pretty sure it's well over a year. Okay. The only time I can remember, like, last time we did it... Wait, words. The only time I can remember we had Kips about was, I think, when Diablo 3 came out.
Really?
Yeah. And you were talking about that, and we were, well, in this house, but in a different room, upstairs.
Oh, right.
Using a Mac.
Yeah.
Hex be upon the Mac.
Yeah.
I vaguely remember. I'm sure I did one on TeamSpeak once.
Yeah, you might have done.
So it's been a while.
Yes. Evidently. Because we can't remember when the last time was. How's your cat?
Fat.
Okay, good.
Is it fatter?
No, I mean, he might be less fat.
Might be.
Decreasing in the fat department.
So what do they say when you take him to the vet, and they put them on that scale?
He said he was fat.
Okay. They give it like that nice little comment, and it's like with Minnie, they were like, oh, she was getting a bit bigger than I see on the records. And it's like, no one told us that. And it's like, this time we put her on, and she's like, well, she's back to where she should be. And it's like, we didn't know she wasn't. She's not a fat cat. Or not visibly.
Okay.
She might be big boned, I don't know. Dylan's definitely big boned.
He's a massive guy.
Just big everything.
Yeah. With a tiny head with massive eyes. He was when I cat sat for him a little while ago. He was doing stupid things like, he does that thing where you pay him a lot of attention and then goes, I'm really enjoying this claw. But he doesn't just play claw. No, he goes right for it, and he did back me around the face at one point because I was like, "Hello, kitty," and leant forward.
It's sort of your own fault.
Yeah, he leant forward. I leant forward and went, "Hello," and he's like, "What?" It's like, all right, I'm not doing that again. I was fortunate because he didn't get the claws out for that one, so I didn't end up with like a nice cat-based injury across my cheek. But it's still kind of funny. So there. Dylan tales.
That was the internet cat moment.
Well, our cats grew up together, technically.
Yeah.
Well, sort of.
Nearly.
How old was Dylan? Dylan was like a year, wasn't when Minnie?
Yeah, a year or two.
Yeah. And they used to chase each other around the house at 4 a.m.
Non-stop.
Fucking... Oh. It was the worst. And, well, I think maybe we had sort of both the right and wrong idea, because we thought, which is worse, right? Like, having the cats run around you in the middle of the night, making a hell of a noise, getting into fights and stuff, or locking Dylan out of the living room and then just hearing nothing but Dylan trying to get in the living room all night. Just ka-donk, ka-donk. It's like, damn your cat and his ability to be, like, quite long and reach things. It's sort of amazing that he figured out doors. Because Minnie doesn't give a shit.
Well, your cat wouldn't be able to do it.
Like, if she jumped, she might.
Don't know about that.
She just doesn't jump.
You don't have the right kind of door handles for that.
But then, like...
Yeah, they're long, but they're incredibly slippery. There's no surface to grip on.
Yeah. But that's precisely the problem where Dylan would, like, just pad it and it would, like, ping and go pa-dum, pa-dum, pa-dum. To the point we had to get a stepladder and try and wedge it under the handle so it couldn't go down very far, so the cat would get bored.
Even that didn't put him off, though.
No. And I did occasionally lock people in the living room. Well, I set up to put the thing on the stepladder, and we don't. But I'd forget we had to have people staying over, and they'd be on the sofa bed. So I put the stepladder under the handle.
Shove it in there.
A couple of times I did that, and no one noticed, so we were all right. Well, at least they never said. They're just being polite. It's like, why do you lock us in? So here's me. We're like kidnapping people. And then letting them go, saying how did you have great time, good experience. It's one step event before having a dungeon, I suppose.
You can't have dungeons around here. No one has cellars.
That's
Apart
true.
from Dad's old house. I guess. That wasn't really a cellar though. That was just because the slope that his house was built on, it was almost low enough
Yeah,
at the back
there
for
was-
that to be a whole extra floor.
There was a sort of necessity to build that bit to make the house level. So, yeah. I don't know why, it's not a very British thing, is it? Having like a basement or...
Well, it's not the right kind of land around here. It's too wet.
Oh, is it? Is that the reason?
Well, it's because it's all clay and shit, and it's all like not very high above water and sea level.
Because like when you see like American houses, like especially the classic sort of wooden build ones, where their porch is always slightly up, isn't it? So they have to go slightly up. So then the basement is really only half in the dirt, I guess.
Sometimes
Half dirt.
that old, you know, there's a lot of different places in America with different ground conditions. Probably depends a lot on that.
Basement laundromats
Okay.
in like flats.
Yeah, that's a different thing though.
Yeah. Anyway, what the fuck are we going to do? Let's talk about news.
I guess.
So,
Apparently our weeks were even not very interesting. So
I filled this random bit on my own, so...
I turned the topic onto cats, so that was good.
Yeah, go on. Good one.
That's what you need on the internet.
Good job.
Cats.
Apparently Tim Berners-Lee was asked, like, what's the most important thing that people do with their daily lives on the internet that has most surprised you? And he just turned around and said kittens.
Okay.
It's like, alright, okay. The inventor of the internet knows his shit.
Yeah, I would have said cats.
Yeah, it's not just...
Kittens is the...
It's not just limited to kittens,
No.
is it? Like, he doesn't know his shit.
And kittens are usually just... Kittens are like cute and not particularly hilarious most of the time, whereas cats are the majority of them are the funny ones instead of the cute ones.
I guess, yeah. Do you reckon that do cats just develop dumb then?
No, it's just,
So they start...
just kittens are like not mobile enough to be hilarious. They're all weak and pansy. Yep.
Poke me, I can do nothing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Is that the same reason why people like babies? I don't like babies.
No, I think that's a different thing.
Oh. I see. I'm struggling to see why, if you have kids, that the part of your life that you look forward to is them as a kid.
I think-
Like the first few years just sound horrific.
Well, yeah, that bit, but I think there's a bit slightly
Yeah,
after that where it gets more interesting.
They become moderately like intelligent, I suppose, and aren't trying.
When you get to try and teach them shit, that's probably hilarious.
when they're not
In its
trying
own
to
way.
kill themselves every 4 seconds.
Oh yeah, but I think that period is more based on the biological, like evolutionary shit. That's where you're surprised that you actually care. Because that's actually just like evolutionary ingrained into you and you don't realise it until it happens and then you're like, fuck. That's my interpretation anyway.
What, so you have a kid and then you're sort of... You realise you're stuck with it, but then like...
Well, no, it's you don't...
You subconsciously care?
Well, at some point, the evolutionary instincts just make you kind of forget that you thought that was a terrible thing. And then when it happens, you're like... This is terrible, but I guess that's what I do now because I'm a freaking reproducing adult.
Or is it just guilt? I reckon it's just guilt.
Well, you can't kill a baby, so once it's there, you're kind of fucked.
You can.
Okay, you can actually kill a baby, just not legally.
I'm not saying you should.
Okay.
Saladcast does not condone baby murder.
Oh no, you used condone again. We're going to get confused about that. That was
I used it right.
Okay, that was like the first episode of Saladcast, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, condone basically means endorse.
Yes.
So that's correct.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Get well.
Get condoned.
So news.
News.
What's been happening in the news? Great.
Yeah.
Facebook bought Oculus.
No, we did that.
No, we didn't.
Did we?
That happened just after the last cast.
I don't know. I feel like we talked about it.
Did we? I listened back to the last podcast. We didn't talk about it.
Okay then.
Facebook bought Oculus.
Oh no, wait, that's right. Because when it happened shortly after, I said by the time we get to talk about it in the podcast, it'll be so old no one will care.
Yeah, we'll have forgotten about it.
And yep, that's pretty much the case.
But in fairness, there hasn't been a lot of really big news the last couple of weeks. So the really big news is that Facebook bought Oculus.
Yes.
And and that kind of made the internet kind of explode a little bit in that, hey, it's Facebook. Oh, what are they going to do with VR? It's going to be virtual poking and social shit. And in their defense, Mark Zuckerberg did sort of like go on record saying, yeah, we're really interested in making Oculus a platform, a social platform. Whatever the fuck that means.
Well, it means basically they need to now buy Second Life.
Yeah.
And there you go. The perfect combination of things to make it really terrible.
That'd be the creepiest thing in the world.
Yeah. I mean, Second Life is horrific to start with. Ooh. And then if you could actually inhabit it in a more virtual reality kind of way, I mean, that's basically the future. I mean, but it would be nice if it didn't start so horrible to begin with.
I mean, this sort of went sour in that sense real fast because, like, I think within the hour of the deal being announced, Notch went on record saying, "No, we're not dealing with Facebook. So the Oculus version of Minecraft isn't going to happen." Apparently.
Yeah, but the thing about that is that, like, he doesn't like Facebook because it's creepy, which is fair enough. But like. I don't think necessarily the Oculus version of Minecraft was going to be that difficult to make.
Someone may write a plugin.
Yeah, pretty much.
There already is one.
Oh, fair enough. There you go.
He posted it on that blog where he wrote that there's already a plugin that you can use.
It's like, yeah, we're not going to make it anymore. We'll just use this.
Because it's like they did that. Do you remember? I'm not sure if I ever showed you the video where they did that render pipeline for Minecraft where it just makes it like
the super wibbly mode.
Yeah, super wibbly trippy land where everything just warps constantly.
That was fucking awesome.
So yeah, they already solved that problem. So I guess fucking... And it's not like he was making Minecraft.
Well, no, true. Presumably he's still on Scrolls. Whatever.
Or the third thing that they're making that I can't remember the name of.
I still want to know what the bloody hell Scrolls is. I know nothing about that.
It's a card game or something, isn't it?
It's just a card game.
Yeah. Oh, is it? Oh, that's different. That's not what I was expecting at all.
What were you expecting?
I sort of had in my head like some kind of ye olde styled RPG, like a little bit in the lines of.
Well, that would make the lawsuit event about the Elder Scrolls make much more sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think the problem was that I've associated it a little bit with Penny Arcade because I can't remember his real name, but Tycho is essentially doing some writing for it, isn't he? He says he was involved with it at the early stages. So it's in my head I have Penny Arcade Adventure, like, but in a sort of ye olde setting as opposed to
right.
So there. But let's. Like, what does this actually mean? Basically, all it really means is that Oculus have a stable financial backing, probably for at least a couple of years, and
I guess,
and maybe they would have some more pressure to get a product out within those 2 years. Pretty much all it means.
What I want to know, which I haven't really seen, but I haven't really been paying that much attention. I want to know what John Carmack thinks about this.
Well,
because I think that would be funny.
He did post a blog about it.
Yeah, he did raise up and say, "Look, well, this doesn't change anything."
Well, yeah, but
it's like
I don't mean what
his actual comment was. Facebook allows us to think about scale in a way we haven't thought of before. So presumably that he means scaling up the business to like production, like capability and things like that, because of money.
Yeah,
I think what he meant by that as well was not just game application though.
Maybe, yeah. Like, but then what does that even mean?
What else is there?
Well,
yeah, what does that even mean?
Stuff like what someone said was sports events where you get a front row seat at a sport event and you use your Oculus to see and watch it in 3D and stuff like that.
Some logic
and concerts
to that.
And stuff.
Yeah.
Which would be pretty cool, I think.
Yeah, there's some logic to that. I'll give you that. The thing that, like, whenever people were talking about it being a social platform, I was like, but all right, so like for the things that Facebook may investigate doing, like, they have chat and they may have a voice chat through Skype at some point, and then, well, what comes next? Well, video chat. But then it's like video chat with VR. Oh no, wait, because you can't put a camera on your face because you're wearing this ridiculous VR set, so that can't work. You'll have to have some, like, horribly scanned avatar of yourself, maybe, which you could look around.
So Second Life, basically.
That is no benefit to just being a camera, so it's like, yeah. I don't know.
Well, there's no video chats that have no reason to work in VR. I mean,
well, whatever Facebook do, it's likely to be super dumb. But the bottom line is that this means that, you know, Oculus is going to live on. It's still going to do the things they plan to do. So, you know, in terms of games and us being excited for it, it should change nothing, right? Right?
It's the problem. Nobody knows.
No one's really said enough about anything at the moment.
Just in the world.
Well, that's why I said that this is why by the time we came to do this podcast and talk about it, we wouldn't have anything to say, because in actual fact there's not really been any subsequent information. It's just like they got bought and then they've just continued to do work at whatever they were doing before, and maybe nothing's changed.
But that's news, isn't it? Like something happens and then you speculate about what it means.
Yeah, but until someone actually says something.
Yeah, and then that'll be news again. Therefore, it's self-perpetuating. So that happened. Other gaming news, kinda. Amazon have entered the ring at last with FireTV, which is basically an Ouya.
Yep. And has an almost as terrible controller, only not quite. The Ouya one's still worse, supposedly.
Well, yeah. Have you read any hands-ons about that controller? I've not seen anything about people actually using it.
No, I've only heard a little bit. Apparently the D-pad is terrible. I don't know why people still care about D-pads, because when do you ever fucking use a D-pad about anything?
Incredibly rarely.
Fighting games, that's it.
Yeah, pretty much. And if you're playing a fighting game, you should be using a proper controller.
Even then, because of all the quarter circle movements, I still find myself using a stick, which I'm not sure is better. It's like, and it's easier to make mistakes. But
not if you actually are good at fighting games, supposedly.
Yeah. And I don't like how... I was considering at one point, like, investing in a fight stick.
Yeah.
But it's just like, I don't want to
care enough.
Well, no, I'm not sure I care enough. The fight sticks are too expensive for what they are.
Yeah.
And I don't want to buy one for a specific console. I want to buy one I can use everywhere. Like, you know, because theoretically people seem to think that the PlayStation is a better platform for fighters than 360 was, for instance. So I don't quite understand that personally, but it's like, that's just where the community seemed to go.
That was until the big fighting thing went with Microsoft.
The big fighting thing?
The big tournament, whatever it's called.
What, Evo?
Evo, yeah.
Oh, right.
It used to be PlayStation all the time, but then they switched.
Xbox,
Yeah.
Huh. That's probably smart of Microsoft, really. Get into the tournaments and then everyone... Is there really... It begs the question, is there any really any difference? But
well, it's like the real question is who was paying who for what?
Yeah. That's what I mean. If I got a fight stick to like play Street Fighter on my 360, for instance, I'd also want to use it to play KI on my Xbone. And it's... so buying a fight stick for me has always seemed like an insane proposition.
It's just like a racing wheel.
Which was an insane proposition, and yeah, I did buy it.
Yeah.
But that's because Forza 2 was awesome at the time, and there was no... There isn't really a good equivalent to Forza on a PC. It's like, you get your simulation races, like, I don't know, like iRacing and stuff like that, but they're not Forza, or they're not GT.
Well, they might be getting closer nowadays.
Well, there's loads of new ones now, like
Assetto Corsa,
Project Cars. And...
Yeah, they're catching my eye. I want to see how they turn out. They have the problem with those things is they can always end up kind of shit. Like there was that, was it GTR? Was it called or something? Where it was basically Le Mans style racing cars or stuff like that, and it's supposed to be in really good simulation and stuff like that, but it's almost impenetrably so that I just didn't find it fun or engaging. And it's like, and the handling is almost too realistic, so it's so easy to fuck up that you're just like, I don't know how I'm going to pick this up in any way. And so that's why I'm sort of watching those slightly half-arsedly, because it's like I can't help but worry that they'll turn out like that.
Well, Project Cars is coming to console.
Yeah, which may mitigate some of that, because I'll have to make it work on a controller. But yeah, so Fire, which we've actually not talked about at all.
Again, there's not really anything to talk about.
Well, I'm very confused by it, because I've been reading quite a lot of like forums and stuff about what people think of it, and generally speaking, a lot of people are quite positive about it. And
it's weird. In concept, it's not a bad idea, because when the Ouya came out, like one of the things people liked about it is it was a pretty good thing to stream media to, like a tiny $100 box that you can stream from your like DLNA server, your videos and stuff to. That's not a bad deal, really. Before that's the realms of a PS3 or a Roku box or something like that, and they came in and sort of undercut all that with something that could pretty much handle it. And it's like, all right,
can
fine.
you do that with a Raspberry Pi?
You probably could, but I don't know if a Raspberry Pi has enough power to decode HD video.
And it's slightly less user-friendly.
Well, yeah.
A little bit.
So, I can sort of see the point for those, but then I don't get the point in putting a device like that out, because the marketplace that would be interested in one would almost certainly already have something that can do all of that. It's the only reason I think Amazon are interested in this is because of their dipping the toe into the waters of video streaming. Because now if you're an Amazon Prime member, you get some stuff. Because don't they own Love Film? Yeah, so you get like... Yeah. I don't think you get the complete Love Film catalogue, but you get some stuff.
I was Love Film, so now I'm Amazon Prime.
Oh, so Love Film is now Prime.
It's the same thing, yeah.
Okay.
So you do get everything that was on Love Film, but Love Film selection is terrible anyway.
So Netflix.
It seems to have gotten a little better since Amazon took over, though.
So does this mean you now have an Amazon Prime account, like for deliveries and stuff?
No, I only have the video side.
I was about to say, so you're not paying like the £80 a year for Amazon Prime.
I pay like £5 a month or something for unlimited video or whatever.
Yeah. Well, actually, that's not far off. That's like £60 a year. But yeah, so the only reason I can think of that is maybe people who use Amazon and perhaps go into Prime, that maybe the Fire TV will eventually be offered as like a, hey, if you sign up for Prime, you'll get one of these, so you can stream your video to a room in your house as kind of an extra sell. But flying in the face of that is just how much investment they're putting into hiring games people. Like the purchase of Double Helix a while back is, it's not going to be sniffed at.
If anything, it's disappointing, because they made an awesome game. They made 2 awesome games recently, and then they've been required by Amazon, so they're going to be making shitty Android games from now on.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. Did you hear who's picking up the work on Killer Instinct.
Yeah, Iron
Galaxy are going to pick it up.
Who are pretty awesome. So
Dave Lang is now working on Killer Instinct.
yeah, but
That's not actually.
They're really good for
You
this.
can't say that that's a really awesome thing because really they're not going to change anything in Killer Instinct. It's just going to be there doing the work.
They will be making more characters. They will be doing the maintenance.
Yeah, but what I mean by an awesome choice is because they're good at they made loads of really good fighting game ports.
Yeah, so
they have got a pedigree.
There'll be some element of knowing what they're doing in the back end, I guess, because it's not like they.
Yeah, well, look past its weirdness. They wrote Dive Kick from scratch, that kind of stuff. So that seemed like a good move to me. I was a bit worried that Microsoft were going to hand it off to some real shitty studio, but at least Iron Galaxy have some history of this, so that's okay.
Haven't they got something better to do?
Well, that's pretty much Iron Galaxy's remit most of the time, is just picking up the pieces, isn't
That's
it?
true.
I think this is probably one of their biggest projects, to be fair, isn't it? Killer Instinct. It's like one of the biggest IPs that they've probably had.
Oh, I don't know. They have a finger in a lot of pies, Iron Galaxy. Like, sometimes just uncredited, so...
Well, yeah.
Like, they're actually...
But I mean,
involved in
actually,
quite a lot.
almost from scratch, I guess.
Well, in terms of the new content, I suppose, yeah, because like the new characters and the new environments won't have been built at all at this point. But
yeah, but I don't think they will have much control over that. That was probably like all of the added stuff is probably already pre-designed and they're just building it.
Well, to a point, yeah, they might be pulling. Well, obviously, Killer Instinct has a lot to pull from that they haven't touched yet, so it's
they already, even if not actually pre-designed for this generation, it will be look at the old game and just do that.
Well, yeah.
Still have to balance it and everything properly, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the bit where where they have a slight amount of knowledge about fighting games, and that'll come in.
Remember Massive Entertainment?
Yeah.
The guys behind World in Conflict.
Yeah.
Who have kind of been behind the scenes working on the Assassin's Creed games for the last however long it's been.
Yeah.
I found out it's them that are basically the lead team on The Division.
Right.
So it's like they are the guys working on The Division, which is interesting because it's like...
I think I knew that before.
Yeah, they said it at E3.
I know, but I only just noticed it recently and we haven't talked about it before. I just, my ears pricked up because it's like, oh yeah, those guys. Like, Massive, I remember them. They made an awesome strategy game and have been weirdly sidelined ever since.
Yeah.
But their new engine looks amazing.
Division is starting to look kind of cool.
The Snowdrop engine sounds really cool, like the way they do things in it.
Tell us more.
Well, I don't know much about engines and shit, so I'm probably not the best person to talk about it.
Well, it's not like any of us do. Just make up some bullshit and we'll be like, yeah.
Make up. This is the phrase. This is a phrase I heard today that fits well. Make up some incorrect facts.
Yeah. So it's like, to me it looked cool, but to someone else it might be, oh, that's nothing new at all.
Yeah.
But like they had the way they were like building maps and stuff is they would like place like an asset, like a building, then they could just like stretch it and stuff like that, and it would automatically like make it fit and
Oh, I see.
all this kind of stuff.
They've added sort of like rules for how it should make buildings, basically.
Yeah, kind of. It was really weird. They were just
Speed building.
placing stuff
Yeah,
and they could just
speed building.
stretch it out and it would work. And then the way they code is like a flowchart.
Oh, weird.
It had like a weird flowchart type thing. So instead of coding, they just flowchart stuff.
Oh, that might be more how they do the scripting side of it, I guess, rather than like straight programming.
Well, yeah.
Like scripted events and...
Possibly, I don't know.
There's normally a shortcut
I don't
way
have a
of doing
fucking
it.
clue what they're talking about, but
There's sometimes
you'll
a
have to watch
shortcut.
the video and see what you make
Yeah,
of it.
interesting. There's sometimes a shortcut. Like the tooling of a big game world will often have like shortcut capabilities like that because there's just so much going on, like AI routines and stuff like that. They need some way of abstracting it so someone can design what it does rather than having to think about the programming side of it, if you see what I mean. It's like we've got these behaviors, you can choose, like a bit like Project Spark, I guess. We've got these behaviors, you need to figure out how to make them work in a human-like way. You have to talk to us about Project Spark a bit later.
I've barely used it, but yeah, it's interesting. Most of it's broken at the moment.
That's pretty much all I've got in news, to be honest. It's like... it's been quiet. Like some Mario Kart 8 stuff's been coming out.
That's not news.
Is it actually released? Yeah, I'm not sure.
Have I?
Because the retro tracks have all been announced, like what they're going to be. And
And then are they all the traditional where it's like just like, why did you pick all these maps that weren't the best maps of the old games?
Well, but the problem is they don't like to repeat themselves with the retro maps.
Yeah, I
do
know,
they?
but I mean, come on.
So I
At
think
this point,
they've brought back Toad's Turnpike or whatever it's called from N64.
they sort of already have that map every time. It's
Yeah,
just
they always have a car level, don't they? It's-
they have a traffic level.
They've done a SNES level, but they've 3D-ified it and stuff, and it actually looks kind of neat 3D-ified. Sort of keeps in with the thing, but they've added like little lumps and where the carts would be carving out the track and stuff if things had been driving around it a lot. So it's beginning to look kind of cool. I know in my heart it is just going to be another Mario Kart game, and that it's just going to be the same old shit. And most disappointingly, it doesn't sound like they've got local multiplayer right again. And that as soon as you go above 2 players, the game drops to a 30 frames per second low detail mode. So it looks bad and doesn't run well. And it's like, nobody wants that from a Mario Kart game. It's like, since the GameCube days where they got that, where they nailed it, you can't go back. Because like the N64, the performance was shocking. But it was still, I guess it was still okay, but the whole game was kind of that weird frame rate the whole time. So you kind of got away with it when it was the same weird frame rate in multiplayer. But I don't know. It's annoying when you go back, I suppose. It's like if Halo 2 Championship, or not Championship, Anniversary Edition, if and when that rumour becomes true, if they didn't support like full 4-player split screen in a neat way, it would just be like, no, we're not doing that. And you're like, well, you fuckers. This isn't Halo 2 then. It burns. I'm pretty tempted to get a Wii though now. A Wii
U.
Yeah.
We've still got Smash Bros. Time.
I know, but there's the Mario mustache is calling me. Not Mario, just his mustache.
I think it's probably worth waiting for one more price drop, which is inevitably going to come soon.
Maybe. I'm not sure.
We'll wait and see if there's a Smash Bros. Bundle.
Yeah.
They'll come with like 2 controllers or something.
None of the bundles are reasonably priced, is the problem.
Yeah.
None of the bundle packages actually really save you any money. Except for the ones where if you get lucky, like whether you get the bundle and like someone like Amazon or something will just say, have another game with that. It's like, they're not official, but they'll just throw something in to say, hey, you get this, why don't you buy the Rayman bundle and we'll give you a copy of Lego Undercover. And it's like, right.
Nintendo needs to do some more, like with the 3DS, where it's just like buy 3 games and get another game free. Why not?
Well,
that's what I did.
That's what XBLA used to do for a while, wasn't it? Like the Summer of Arcade stuff. There was always like, if you buy all this stuff from Summer of Arcade, you can get like either the last one free, or we'll give you some points back. Or
at least the Nintendo one had options instead of being like buy all of these games regardless of what.
Yeah, that was always the problem with that. But they have done some things on occasion. It's like, we've got a special on the whole arcade at the moment. Where if you spend so many points this month or something, then we'll get some back. Or I think they did it with Halo expansion packs at one point, and it's like, but buy all the Halo 3 expansions and we'll give you some points back. Like stuff like that. So they have sort of tried. And I may have mentioned this last week, but I did find myself having that ultra lazy thought of, that's never really been occurred to me before with a console, of I shouted at the Xbox to swap to Titanfall, but the Plants vs. Zombies disc was in the drive, and I was like, oh, that's disappointing. I'm going to have to actually get up and change a disc, like I've always done and never complained about.
What you should do is just put the consoles closer to the couch.
Build a Kinect robot to move it.
Like get the Lego Mindstorms out. Yeah. Use the remote control for that. And be like,
mod the disc tray so it just keeps going. It's just like really long.
I'm not sure how it works. Where would it all go when it went inwards?
That's a good question. You cut a hole in the wall out the back of the house, so there's just like slabs of metal just move back. Chopping legs off kids, I don't know.
Just need to mod it to be like a multi-disc swapper. So
this giant like thing that they used to
Be
put
like
in the
a
back of
jukebox.
cars. Yeah. An Xbox jukebox. The Jukes box.
For some reason, I thought it was like you want to make like a zip line that goes from above the couch to the disc tray. You have to hang the disc off the hook somehow, so when it gets above the tray, it just disconnects and drops it.
Actually, I just realised that's kind of difficult on the X-Bone because it doesn't have a tray.
No.
Yeah.
Well, but then again, once it gets there, it goes by itself.
Yeah, you just got to make sure it sort of ramps somehow into the right bit just enough.
As long as it makes contact.
But then the ramp to direct it, surely you need to have some mechanism to move that out of the way when the eject happens, and then some motor perhaps to wind in the zip line.
You got a fishing rod.
Then how does the CD get attached to it? Oh,
It's like a fishing rod.
Okay.
Yeah, it's entirely unnecessary. Just get off your butt.
Yeah. So it's like the moment it's like, maybe I should have bought this digitally, and then I remembered how fucking expensive digital stores are. God damn it.
Although for me, it's probably to work out cheaper going digital now. Because me and Jamie both have an Xbox One.
Oh, I see. So you get some of the family stuff.
Well, no, because... Right, it's a bit complicated, but because I've got my Xbox as my home console, you said it's your home console.
Yeah.
She can play any of the games I've bought digitally on that console, whether she owns them or not.
True.
And so if I log in on hers...
You do that can happen with a disc, right?
Oh, yeah, but... I mean, if we've only got one disc, we can't put the disc in both consoles.
True.
So what I'm saying, if I then log on her console, I can download the game on there, and because I'm logged in as me, it knows I've bought it and I can play it.
Right.
So we can both play at the same time with one copy.
Does that work?
Yes, it does work.
But you can't be signed in on both consoles at the same
No,
time?
I don't have to be, because that's my home console. Anything that I own, anyone can play.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So you just play on her one,
Yes, that's
essentially.
it.
Interesting.
So for me, it would probably work out cheaper to go digital now.
Yeah. I hadn't thought about that.
Because then we both get the game with one copy.
And that works?
It does work, yes.
Huh. Have they like gated it in the sense that you need to be in the same house or like running on the same IP address?
Well, no, you wouldn't have to, because I could come to yours and play here, and as long as she's still on my Xbox at home,
Yeah, of course.
it would still work.
It's kind of weird, isn't it? Like in some respects, I can't help but think that perhaps they're, some of the partners they work with would have gone, but that means like you're costing us a sale when you do that.
It's a very obscure, it's a very situational route though, because she has to be on my Xbox.
You have to be playing on not your console.
Yeah.
For that to work. But I suppose, if you had a house full of gamer kids who all for some reason want their own console, then maybe that makes sense.
But even then,
if you're having a LAN party, but I suppose you could only get it to work on 2. But still,
it's pretty nice.
Yeah. Well, it makes it starts to sound kind of extreme if you say you got together a LAN party to play something and you're like,
yeah,
well, we need 8 copies of the game. No, we don't. We need 4.
If you've got it digitally.
Yeah, if you've got it digitally and don't need the disc. Bones. Any more news?
No.
Phil Spencer.
What about Phil Spencer?
He's the head of Xbox now.
Who's Phil Spencer?
Is it Phil Spencer? I forget his name.
It's a guy. Maybe Phil Spencer.
Is it Phil Spencer?
Oh, yeah.
No, I know
he
who
got
he is.
promoted to the head
He's
of
the head
everything.
of Xbox now, yeah.
Oh, right. So
The smarmy looking one.
He's the guy that always goes on stage with like a jacket and t-shirt.
Yeah, that's him. He's the head of Xbox now.
Okay.
Not that news story.
And he's actually really cool because...
Well, that sort of makes some sense, because he's the only higher up left.
It is Phil Spencer.
Yeah, that is him. Yeah.
But he's really cool though because he's always on Twitter answering people.
I don't like his face.
No, I don't like his face.
I'm sorry, Phil, but
that's really good news in my opinion because he's always going on about how games are a priority for him, and he's always on Twitter answering people's questions about stuff, and he's really honest.
Oh, so he's a good community guy.
Yeah, he's really open about stuff. People ask him stuff on Twitter all the time, and he'll just go, "Yep, whatever," and answer it or whatnot. So he's really.
So he's actually quite a strong face, you think, for the Xbox brand?
I think it'll help at this point.
Strong face, yeah, okay.
I knew that was coming.
I think it's what Xbox needs right now because he's pro-game orientated. Everyone at the moment is saying Xbox isn't pro-gaming.
Yeah, I suppose like when Matrick was about, perhaps you got the expression, the feeling that perhaps it was too business-orientated, his way of thinking. And, Mark Whittam was very much a techie guy, but he didn't ever really take the lead. So, it was a shame that he left as well, but I always quite liked him. He seemed like the cheery one of the bunch.
The problem with him is you never saw him do anything.
Oh no, he turned up at the...
He was at the conferences and stuff.
He would turn up to talk the techno jargon, the super simplified version of like, hey, you know what the cloud is, right? It's like, remember how big Xbox Live was? It was this big. And now we've got the cloud, it's this big. And we've got a processor with this many capacitors in it, or whatever he said. Like, what is it? It's not capacitors. What's the little processing part? Transistor, that's the word, yeah. We've got this many transistors, and everyone's like, we don't know what the fuck you're talking about. But he always seemed very happy about it. So yeah, that is good news. That's a sensible choice.
Yeah, because he's already got loads of things that he's been talking about that he's planning on doing. Like someone asked him, because obviously the other news at Build was that they've developed this thing where you can basically have apps built on Windows or whatever, and you can cross them over to Xbox and Windows Phone with very minimal effort. So someone was asking, like, well, now people can do this, or will eventually be able to do this. Will you cut the paywall for apps and stuff? And he didn't say yes, but he said that that's something that we're looking into. So it suggests that they might be cutting the paywall.
Yeah, because Microsoft have been making a lot of these sort of, like, we need to reduce our upfront cost decisions recently. Like, for instance, they have essentially reduced the ability to the licensing costs for Windows Phone recently.
Oh yeah,
so
they
before
slashed it.
Well, before it was costing Nokia apparently $15 a handset to license. Which doesn't sound like a great deal in terms of the whole price of the phone, but that is $15 of pure profit gone to practically nothing.
Yeah, I think at Build they said it was $0 on anything under a 7-inch screen or something.
Right. So yeah, anything other than a tablet
basically
is now free, which is a hand straight out of the Google playbook.
Yeah.
A hand out of the playbook, whatever, fuck it. A page out of the playbook. A page out of the Google playbook, so, I think Microsoft are finally being forced to realise that they can't rely on monopoly anymore for the way they think about business. Like, Windows, even the Windows front, they've reduced the cost of upgrades significantly. Like, I think it's free from 8 to 8.1 or something when that happened, and will be free next time as well or something. Like, they're sort of starting to realise they can't do this, and they need to provide services like a decent app store, like the Apple model, to continue consumer revenue, because that's how consumers think now. Mm-hmm. And they can still rely on their old techniques for enterprise, because enterprise don't care. Basically, it's like they don't mind paying. That makes perfect sense to them because they don't change very often. So it's like when a single outlay makes sense to business, but as opposed to subscription models, which seem to make more sense to consumers. I don't know. I'm still sort of like cagey on the idea of things like Office, for instance, like, because if you bought a copy of Office, even if your workplace bought a copy of Office, just how often do you think you need to change that? You sort of don't. You can run on a version of Office for a really long time without having a problem. So like the introduction of Office 365 as being the primary way to get hold of copies of Office, what is it, like £80 a year for most people? I think it just sounds kind of not a great deal anymore. The subscription model is the way everyone's going, but there are too many cases at the moment where I think, and Microsoft are in this boat, and Adobe are in this boat, if you ask me, where the costs are just too high to consider.
Well, they're not aimed at us, though, Adobe, is it?
Well, definitely not, but,
But on the other hand, it's like, it's almost making the world a better place by making it so that everyone will always be on the same version of everything, and there will no longer be like, oh, this was made in Office 2000. Fuck, if you open this, it fucks right up and looks weird.
Oh, but then you could have the opposite problem in that you end up with the trap in that the software updates or gets to a point where you can't get any more updates that you're paying for because your version of some other software, like the OS, isn't up to date unless you're buying updates for that. There's a way of being really trapped in here, which is a bit nefarious.
Yeah, but look, again, it's like there shouldn't be anywhere in any business that's still fucking running Windows 95 at this point, unless it's for a very specific purpose where you've written this program 50 years ago that only that only runs on Windows 95 because you're a time traveler of some kind.
Mad skills. Yeah, I don't know. Well, I'm sure there are still I'm sure some ATMs still don't run, or even older than XP in places, and they're running 2K.
Yeah, but that's just because they haven't been forced to do anything about it, and it's a really bad thing. If only they were forced to do it, then they'd complain. But fuck them.
I mean, you do occasionally
compatibility people.
You do occasionally hear about places that run a Windows 98 PC still to do one particular job, and no one can be bothered to change it because they don't want to learn how to change something. But then if the system's that old, usually they get away with it because it's not online.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it doesn't matter.
Like when I was doing my stupid research projects in university and was using a computer that was Windows 3.1 because fuck it, I guess. It was in a fucking Faraday cage in a corner and its only purpose was to do this one thing and all it had to render was a single line graph. So I guess Windows 3.1 was sufficient.
Yeah.
And it was probably connected by some god-awful serial port or something, I imagine. I didn't actually look.
Yeah, if that one program works okay on that machine, then
and the ancient piece of 80s equipment that was attached to it, presumably by some kind of serial port.
Yeah, probably burning half a rainforest running. The amount of power those things used to use.
Yep, exactly.
Fun times. So yeah, Phil Spencer, hello.
Hello, face.
Do well.
Get well.
Anyone news for anyone news?
No.
I'm sure there was something.
I'm sure there was too.
Like what Goat Simulator came out.
Elder Scrolls Online came out.
Yeah. Woo.
Woo.
I've seen one person on my contact list get sort of excited about Elder Scrolls Online.
Okay.
Well, the problem I have with Elder Scrolls Online is it from what I've seen of it, it looks pretty decent. Like, it doesn't look bad.
It looks like a fine MMO.
Yeah.
But it does nothing new.
But the problem I have with it is the model. Like, I'm not paying 50 quid up front to buy it and then 10 quid a month or whatever it is on top of that.
Yeah, that is bad. I mean, only World of Warcraft can get away with that anymore.
But even that is like they give away the
to a lesser extent
stuff most of the time,
and you can get level to 20 on the trial for free or whatever.
Yeah,
how can you?
Yeah.
Does Eve still operate with an upfront and subscription model?
I don't know what
It's
their
just
actual starting purchase is because they do it on Steam, don't they? But that's you just buy it and it gives you a month with that.
That's it. You just buy months.
Yeah.
Now there isn't an upfront.
Speaking of which, I guess it's completely irrelevant news because no one actually cares about Eve. They're now making. They used to have the buddy program where you could send out basic.
Oh yeah.
It was the classic thing where you could send out invites to people to get them to join, and then if they paid, you got money.
Yeah.
It was the classic maneuver. It's like if you join, then I get cash. So bonus.
Yeah, referral bonus.
Yeah, but now they're extending that system to be like. If you get someone who already played the game to resubscribe, then you get bonus.
Oh, I see.
So you can basically re-invite your friends for another free trial.
That could work for someone like you, I suppose.
Yeah, I can basically get everyone back in for 7 days.
Yeah.
Not that I'd get anything from it if they didn't pay, which they wouldn't, but I can give everyone 7-day free trials.
But you could be useful for people to tap for that, surely, because of your intermittent history with Eve. you've taken time off.
Yeah.
And then maybe you just go, hey, I'm coming back to Eve. Do you want a bonus for this? Then here's my referral code.
Well, yeah. I mean, that makes sense but then that's just then you're not getting it. The person you're.
No, true.
So you have to be friends with them and be like, will you give me this referral back?
I mean, it's not the best referral scheme in that sense. Like a lot of good referral schemes. Say for broadband providers, I think they're pretty prolific with this stuff. Is that both parts of the equation get something for being referred? So it's in the best interests of the other person to put in a referral code.
Technically, the person getting referred in Eve does get the free trial part of it.
True, they get those 7 days, I guess. Extends your month by a week.
Yeah, exactly. Although apparently in this new in this returning referrals thing in Eve, you don't get the reward every time. You only there's basically 3 rewards, and it's a different reward for each of the first 3 times that you do it per month or something.
Okay.
Or year. Why is that? I didn't really mean that.
Well, yeah, there must be some limit to how much
naturally.
Farm it.
I was just thinking the classic thing of I could just refer my other account.
Right.
Give basically free money, or paid for money for paying for my other account for a month, but also getting an extra week and getting money on my main account.
Can you? Yeah, should you refer it right before one of your accounts finishes? If you know you're going to be playing the other one for a while.
Yeah, I guess you could trade them back and forth.
Yeah, so
get that extra week over and over.
Yeah.
Dumb. You'd think they might be able to
Maybe they
that.
have an abuse detector or something.
It's these 2 accounts are both connected from the same IP. That's slightly suspicious.
Yeah. This guy's been doing this with this one person 6 times this year. Is this right? Mr. Suspicious.
Well, I think there's also to kind of, I guess the way they actually prevent that is the account has to have been idle for a certain amount of time.
Oh, I see.
6 months or whatever.
Right. So it's not
you can't do it every month.
Damn. That's less cool.
Well, it's fine.
It's sensible from a business perspective.
I guess I have 2 more Eve accounts that I could do that with.
Yeah, just build 6 Eve accounts.
I think I have 3. I can't remember what the other one was for. I think that was. Oh no, wait! I remember. It was there was my original account. There was the original Buddy account when that system first got introduced and it was super cheap. And then there was the third account where Eve went super cheap on a Steam sale. So I made an Eve account through Steam.
Right.
And then Buddy programmed that one into my main account as well to get the bonus. So yeah, free Eve accounts.
Jipping it where you can.
Yep.
So play Eve. Go on, get someone that plays Eve to make you play it for stuff.
Oh, and they're doing that. The Eve monument thing is actually going to happen now.
Oh,
I
cool.
guess.
Yeah.
They finally decided to say that yes, it's definitely going to happen. And my name will be on it somewhere.
Awesome.
Not my actual name, obviously. my stupid, dumb character name.
Yeah.
God damn it. That'd be interesting if we ever go to Iceland for some reason. Look at this monument and try and find the one name out of however many, 200,000 names, presumably.
That'd be a hell of a challenge.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like going to that...
Unless it's in alphabetical order.
It's like going to those war memorials, isn't it? And just picking a name and saying, right, we're going to find where this is actually written.
Well, I mean, yeah. If it's in alphabetical order, it's
then
not
it might
too
be okay.
difficult.
Well, your one is likely to be at the end.
Yeah, exactly. Fairly easy. And it's not a very common letter, I suppose, then. It's not like S or something where it's even in alphabetical order. That's still quite a lot of space.
I want them to organise it by chronology of date joined.
Oh yeah, that'd be pretty funny.
Yeah.
Or number of skill points. Which is equivalent to date joined, really.
I guess,
more or less.
Yeah, unless you've been idle, but yeah.
It'd be pretty cool if they actually put the date the character was created on there. That would be interesting as well.
The birth of...
Yeah.
birth of Zach.
10-year-old character.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's Eve, I guess. I didn't play that. Actually, I logged in a couple of times and that was it. I
struggle to think who at Bethesda or whoever thought that making another one of these seemed like a good idea after
We need another one of these.
or another MMO that is just, you know, as we described it, a fine MMO that like that they would be able to capture enough of the audience to make it worthwhile.
Well,
because so many
going off the
fail.
brand, aren't they?
Well, the theory that everyone has been bandying around is that, like, probably when they started making this, like, it probably was a good idea, considering how long it's taken.
Perhaps.
But I agree with various people who have been saying that, like, you don't actually want an MMO Elder Scrolls game, you just want a
Online.
multiplayer.
decently sized multiplayer.
Yeah. Have some people you can work together
Or just a
with.
locally hosted multiplayer like Starbound or whatever.
I quite liked Jeff Gersman's idea of like someone perhaps designing not an MMO world, but a sort of Borderlands-esque style MMO where there's like a player cap or something, but all those players are progressing as one.
Right.
So like you can all go off and do your own thing, but essentially the world is changing as a result of what you're all doing. So if one person achieves a quest, that quest is gone
Well,
because someone's done it.
maybe, but then...
You know, it's sort of like an actual world mechanics like that sound.
Yeah, but then you definitely would
intriguing.
definitely would have to be doing that with like friends because otherwise you just get super pissed.
Exactly. Yeah, you'd have to. It would have to be like an organised thing, and there'd have to be a way of managing that. And I'm not saying that's an easy thing to pull off, because well, think about it this way: perhaps that like it would open the floodgates for an experience like that could have multiple different ways of playing out. Like, so perhaps you end up with a replayable MMO that's like actually different each time. You say to your mates, it's like, I don't like the way this has gone. Let's all. I don't like my character. Let's all start again. And it's like, and it would actually be okay to do so because everyone would be doing different quests, and perhaps the order in which you do the quests or don't do the quests or fail the quests changes things. That to me sounds like a really good. Well, I say good. It's a massively ambitious thing.
Yeah.
But it would be really cool to see someone try. Because like, even the ambitious MMOs haven't done well for themselves recently. Like, I don't know. You could argue that Guild Wars has been pretty successful and pretty because of its ambitious living world concept.
Yeah.
And that sort of works. But then you look at... I'm a little bit disappointed that games like The Secret World and stuff didn't do better. Because, yeah, okay, underneath they had fairly rote MMO mechanics, but their quest design was trying something really different. Like, by using things in the world and requiring knowledge external to the game and...
Yeah, but that wasn't actually a good idea, though, because that's just like the Games Fact game.
Maybe.
The Wikipedia game.
Maybe that bit isn't so hot, but I just... at least they were trying, you know? You got to appreciate someone for trying to be original. In a space that's been done to fucking death. Although Final Fantasy XIV's doing well for itself. And that is, again, basically just an MMO.
Yeah, but that's only because it's Final Fantasy.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or Japanese JRPG style, I guess. The only other thing that was close to that is like the Fantasy Star, but then, you know...
Then that never
came out. Because they realised that people didn't actually care enough.
Yeah, it's a Japanese thing, pretty much. I still haven't thought of the news. I'm sure there was something I really wanted. Well, as minor news, I suppose. It's not really news, I guess, but the guys working on... what was it, Bluepoint, who are the guys working on the 360 version of Titanfall, said it would run over 30, but that means they're not going to, like actual Titanfall. I guess that means they're probably not going to hit the 60 frames target.
It's definitely not 60.
Yeah.
Well, there's a 30.
What's the fact that
there's a 30
yeah.
frames per second lock mode. There's been leaked pictures of the 360 version.
Oh, there's an option, is there?
There's an option to lock it to 30, so it's probably barely over 30.
Right. That's a bit of a shame. I mean, I know that game has a reasonable amount going on, but they could have. I'm sure they could have knocked back the graphics to a point where it would have played just fine. But it is a bit of a. It is going to be interesting to see how well do you reckon that game will handle with those limitations. It's interesting nonetheless.
I don't like this new trend. There's a new trend that's happening mostly on PlayStation, but this new trend of games having unlocked frame rates.
Yeah, that's not been crazy uncommon on PlayStation for a long time. Like Infamous has never been locked.
No, Infamous, the new one, wasn't locked, but they've added an option now. Killzone wasn't locked, but they've added the option
Oh, wasn't it?
now. But it's like having
But
played.
Titanfall definitely isn't, is it?
Oh, no,
on
Titanfall
the
isn't.
Xbone.
But it's just like I don't mind so much for multiplayer stuff because it's not. I don't know. I haven't really had a problem with it in Titanfall. But when I was playing,
it's occasionally super noticeable. Like I have had.
it's noticeable, but
I have had like practical knocks at times, but
it's noticeable. But it doesn't really bother me that much
no,
most of the time.
it's not a game. It's not a killer.
But on like Killzone, when you're, I don't know, there's just something about when you're, because Killzone doesn't run bad. There's no way that it's a bad running game, but you can notice it when it drops from 60 to like 40 or something when you're running around. You can notice it sort of jiggering or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, the first Infamous game did that occasionally as well. It was weird because it ran at 30 the majority of the time, and it never really dipped below 30. But every now and then you'd find an area that perhaps didn't have a lot going on, or you were staring out to the sea or something, and then all of a sudden everything would go 60, and you'd be like, hang on a minute, this suddenly looks a lot better than I was expecting. Then you turn around and it chugs a bit, and you're like, but then you notice the chugging.
Yeah,
it's like,
exactly.
it's that weird thing of like, because it's varying, you notice it.
That's it, yeah. It's not so much a problem that it runs at 30 or whatever.
Because, Halo's always been locked to 30,
Yeah.
and you don't,
I don't care.
You never really notice. I've never noticed that as a problem, like throughout the Halo series.
Yeah, that's exactly my thing. Like, I don't care that it runs at 30, but it's the fact that it's unlocked and it wavers around, and that's when you notice it.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
It's kind of why the screen tearing is the biggest problem with
Yeah.
Titanfall, for instance. It's like, and perhaps that's a result of like, well, no, screen tearing is just bad VSync, isn't it? It's not really that the frame rate is moving all over the place. It's ignore me. Bad argument. Yeah, I see your point though. It is strange. Maybe that's a result of more games going PC-like. Because, that's how you have to develop on PC, really. And the only game I can think of that used to have a proper frame lock was the original Halo. When that came out, because you had the option to lock everything to 30 in that, if you wanted to. Partly because their animation routine didn't use interpolation, so things were... It would sort of do what I used to complain about the BioShock games, where the animation of characters and stuff would be running at 30 while the frame rate of the actual game runs at 60. And it just looks really weird. And again, super noticeable. Yeah, I don't know. Don't know how I feel about it, really. It's like maybe it's nice, in some aspects you kind of feel maybe it's nice that the game lets itself run faster when it can. But it's the jarring nature of the change. Yeah, I don't know. Don't know how I feel about that.
But I'm glad that they've added locked options. That's kind of solved that for me. The fact that they've had it so you can lock it at 30. It's like, yep, that solves my problem.
Now this looks slicker, I guess. More consistent. I mean, maybe that's what you associate with consoles, I guess, isn't it? Like this...
Yeah, that's the thing. Like
sort of slick, consistent experience.
I mean, there are games, obviously, that slow down and stuff, like GTA 5 and whatever.
And sometimes it can't be helped.
Yeah, but I mean, generally speaking, games on 360 and that are locked at a set frame rate 90% of the time.
Yeah.
It's
I don't think any game is like free from the odd moment of slowdown, so
it's just weird how this way of doing it sort of cropped up, because obviously I never played PlayStation 3 much, so I wouldn't have known stuff like Infamous and stuff before, but I never really remember anything like that on Xbox.
No, I can't think of a good example of something that did that on 360. Not really. I'm doing my usual thing of like, let's cast my eyes to the shelf to see if anything triggers a menu. Suddenly,
a little drop-down menu appears in Rob's vision. It's like,
these are your memories. Pick one. Oh, maybe the Ghost Recons might have done. Actually,
Right.
The Ghost Recons probably did that because that was early day. Perfect Dark might have done it as well. at some
Yeah, okay.
points. Although I'm pretty sure that was locked to 30 and just had frame rate issues.
It's just shit.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it just seemed weird to me.
So what have you been playing?
Yeah.
Go on, Kips, you can kick this off.
I've been playing games.
Who have you?
That's good.
I don't know. I think it was more like a game, wasn't it?
No, multiple games.
Okay.
I don't know which to talk about first.
Well, you don't have the 2-week limit that we do, so
No.
go nuts.
There's
What's
been quite a few then.
what have you liked? What have you not liked?
Well, I'm going to talk about an oddball one here
All right.
Okay.
This is what,
that I've absolutely loved and think is absolutely brilliant, and that is One Finger Death Punch.
Right.
oh yeah, you told me about
It's basically a cheap Flash web game by the looks of things, presentation wise and stuff, and it's by a company that generally makes complete shovelware on Xbox Live indie.
that. What's
the
their
indie section.
pedigree?
They've made dating games and those kind of
shit
just
storms.
absolute shit. And then they came out with this game called One Finger Death Punch on Steam. And it's fucking awesome. It's an incredibly simple game. As you may have gathered, it says One Finger Death Punch, but you actually use 2 fingers.
It lies.
Well,
Technically, you could do it with one, but there's
surely
just
one
no
of them
point.
is for months, so...
No, they're both punch.
Oh, no, wait, yeah, it's left and right, isn't it?
Yeah. So basically, the graphic style is stick figures that kill each other. The idea of the game is you have a left mouse button and a right mouse button, and you have enemies coming from the left and right, and to kill them, you have to press the left to kill the left and the right to kill the right, as you would have thought, which sounds simple enough, and it is, but it gets crazy quick, so you get you do mad clicking like that, trying to kill everything. It's got a lot of there's different types of enemies that you can fight, so you have ones that need 3 clicks to kill, but it could be 2 on the left and then 1 on the right to kill it, and whatever, and it switches up like that. You also get weapons.
Just like that.
Perfect timing. You also get weapons that the enemies can carry, like bows or swords and stuff, and you can pick them up by clicking to go towards it if it's in your range, and you'll pick it up and it'll make you kill people quicker. You get special ones that you get a DDR style feed come down the screen, and you have to click along to it to kill them.
Right.
And it's just really cool. The animation of it is super slick and smooth, and it just looks it's really fun to watch. The way it pans out on screen while you're clicking away, killing all these things, it just looks awesome. It's kind of very cheesy kung fu style, 60s kung fu style film aesthetic, I guess.
Sure. Also, it sort of has that sort of overly, I don't know, fake Oriental music.
Yes,
sort of
definitely. And the announcer is sort of a classic.
Or piss take of the accent.
Yeah,
Bit like dive kicks.
Yeah.
yeah, pretty much.
Dive kick.
Yeah, it's that kind of thing going on. And the sounds and stuff are all classic punch noises and stuff from old films. Yeah, exactly. And it's just really cool. It's a really fun game. And there's lots of variation in the types of levels and stuff you get as well. So
I did stumble upon that, as I was browsing around Steam once, and did sort of have that. Yeah, this looks kind of cool in its own sort of it's slightly unique way. It wasn't quite what I was expecting it to be. I think when I actually saw a video of it, it's for some reason in my head I figured it might play something out a bit like a single player version of Nidhogg or something, rather than it being as you say, as simple as it is. It sort of strikes me a bit like a super hexagon of fighting. Yeah.
It's just crazy quick, because the better you do, the faster it makes it go. So you can get up to 250% speed or something. It just gets ridiculous. But another funny thing is sometimes a random ball will appear. So if you punch in time to when the ball's near you, it'll kick the ball at enemies and it'll kill them. So you can keep that chaining while killing other people and stuff as well. So there's a lot of it's a very simple game, but it's got a lot of little sort of things you can do.
Cool mini mechanics.
Yeah. And it's just great fun for a short play every now and then.
Okay, speaking of Super Hexagon,
Yeah.
This is a random aside. I did, on Dan's recommendation, and other Dan, Dan Cassidy from Cambridge, play the Terry Kavanagh version of Flappy Bird.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool because it's got some sweet music.
Well, always. That's like what his games always have.
Yeah, check that one out because he's like obviously it's even harder than Flappy Bird because like the range of flap is like super high, and he's also added like this dive button that makes you like drop super quick as well, and so like an insanely hard fast game is made even harder and faster, and it's genius. It's easily the best version of that I've seen so far. I know I've not seen many, so that means nothing. All right, so one finger Death Punch. That's Saladcast recommend.
Yeah, it costs. I don't know how much it costs now on Steam, but I picked it up for like a couple of quid or something from somewhere.
From somewhere.
It was like on a bundle site with a load of other shit, but I only bought it for that because it was cheaper than buying it on Steam.
Naturally.
So yeah, great game. I think I played it like 6 hours or something, so it's well worth it.
Yeah, that's 3 times the pound per hour ratio.
Definitely, it's awesome. So yeah, get that. What else are we playing?
Yeah, what else you got?
Well, there's the obvious one, Titanfall.
Boom, son!
Amazing. Yeah, so we're playing Titanfall. I've played quite a lot of Titanfall.
You've played a lot of Titanfall.
I've played a lot of Titanfall. Not as much as some people, but...
No,
never as much as some people.
I've seen some Gen...
I've seen Gen 9s.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
Jeez, that's a lot higher. Oh, I thought I'd seen some Gen 5s and I think of Gen 6. But
yeah, I'm Gen... Well, I'm
people
Gen...
have that much time to play that fucking game.
I know, it's crazy. But I'm Gen...
How can people stand to play that game that much? It's so intense.
That is
pretty
the other
intense.
thing. But then again, and we sort of thought about this, like when the beta came out, I did probably put in like a good 10 hours over that weekend.
Yeah, but you wouldn't have been able to continue after that. It'd be like, holy shit, I need a break at some point.
Yeah,
I gotta admit, I haven't been able to like zone into it quite as much as like perhaps when it first came out. Like that first weekend, I was so into it. That was all I wanted to do. And it's like, yeah, I think like by the time the actual game came out, I was a tiny bit over it. Just not. I wouldn't say like over it, but it diminished a little bit in that I could go like 2 or maybe 3 hours in one go and then I'll hit the wall and be like, you know what? Yeah, this is. And you have that realization, I think, like I do with like quite a lot of multiplayer games, where it's like, just what is the point?
Well, see, I only ever play multiplayer games, pretty much. It's pretty much all I play because I just love it. But I have noticed it's one of those games where it's not like COD. It sounds weird, but it's not quite as addictive as COD in a way, because with COD, it's literally you're fighting real people only all the time, and it's a lot more satisfying because of it. In that respect,
there's a feel-good factor to besting a human. Yeah,
but it is like the matches are longer in Titanfall, depending what you're playing. I feel, and they've increased the time and stuff on attrition now, so it's even longer.
Oh, have they? Oh, that is good. The attrition's sometimes felt quite short.
Yeah, they've increased that. I think they almost doubled it, something like that. So the games can go on quite a while, and it does get pretty intense sometimes, depending on the map and what kind of role you're trying to play or whatever.
See, I never entirely got into the competitive side of Titanfall. It's like, when I never quite got that.
Jesus Christ, Kippling, what is going on your phone?
Boom! I don't know. I never 100% got into the to and fro of the actual mechanics of the map. Like, okay, when you're playing like a Last Titan Standing and maybe a CTF game, it feels like more of a big deal because the core game types are about this one thing. But when you're doing even attrition or the pilot hunt or the hardpoint games, I just don't care.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's nothing about the game that really makes me care about winning or losing so much. It's a bit like COD. I only tend to care about have I done okay.
Score, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to say, normally I don't play things like Hardpoint and Capture the Flag that much, especially on Call of Duty, because, I don't know, they're just not as fun. But on Titanfall, Capture the Flag is probably the best mode, It's so damn good.
I go through phases with it. Sometimes it's amazing, and other times it's just super annoying. I think it
depends on the
so
team.
dependent on the teams that it match makes you with, and it's so dependent on the map. Like I don't think many of the maps really work for it. Some of them are brilliant for it. Like Overlook, which is a level I don't really like the majority of the time, suddenly takes on a whole new life as a CTF map, and it kind of works then. Whereas I hate its hardpoint locations.
Well, I think that's just multiplayer games in general, though. You have to have a variation in size, you need design,
and they do try and you have to try and mix it up on occasion, and for some game types that's going to be better than others, and it's. So in that respect, it's good that CTF exists for me because it makes that map have a use.
Yeah.
Whereas otherwise I would just dislike it. So they kind of save themselves there.
Yeah. No one's ever going to like all the maps on every mode. That's the thing with multiplayer stuff. Like someone will probably love that map on whatever.
Because Last Titan Standing, although for the lack of strategy and like communication that Titanfall seems to have, like you don't hear many people talking to each other or trying to sort out what they're going to do and that kind of thing. Like by the time you're reaching an end of a Last Titan match, which are often quite close, like they don't often get like just whitewashed. It's like you often like so many games you end up coming down to like it's 3 apiece, the next one wins situation, and the teams are desperately trying different things to sort of outline. It's like you have a squad of a few guys just take the longest route possible to try and get behind you in some in some way nobody was expecting, or you'll have like I have seen one game where the Zack tactic applied where
Hide the Titan.
where a large number of players from the other team just hid their Titans and all went out on foot, and that was a kind of a funny round. Because it was such a pain in the arse, because the rest of us were all in our Titans, and the guys were just, like, being flies around us.
Yeah.
Until eventually they started making mistakes, and we killed the pilots, and then, the round became a piece of piss, and we won it. But it's like, that stuff does exist, and that ad hoc craziness of what people are trying works so well in that game mode. But you don't really see it anywhere else. Like, perhaps in CTF occasionally you'll see something genius. Like the strategy I talked about the other week, where if you can time it just right and you have the right burn cards and stuff, being able to drop a Strider in with a dash core ready at just the right moment is...
You need to watch some of my mod charges, because I recorded some CTF stuff, and some of it was so ridiculous. Like, it's just so much fun. Like...
But then the flip side to like CTF, why I think it's bad in places, like some of the levels are got so many routes.
Yeah.
The finding a flag carrier is so hard. Whereas, like traditional map design from like the Quake and UT eras, there's defined pathways the majority of the time. And so like being able to try and choke where the flag bearer is going to go. And to a lesser extent Halo was good at that as well, with its map design, until you got like the big vehicle levels. But a lot of the main levels still had routes you could watch and be like, oh yeah, they're probably going to come through here, so I'm going to hang about. You can't really do that so much on Titanfall. You have to. There are just so many routes.
Yes, but it's all about tactics, isn't it? It's all about wall running and stuff as well. Like, most of the time when people have the flag, they just either run along the floor like an idiot.
That's me.
Or they'll run on the roof, which nearly always means you can probably catch up with them if you're decent at wall running.
Yeah. Or even floor running will catch up with someone that's trying to roof run. Most of the time. Or
even just jump on the back of a friendly Titan, that works.
Yeah. I had some really great games just chilling out on the back of a Titan. Like, it was on I spent a good half a game just on the back of a friendly Titan once, like, because we were kind of whitewashing it a little bit, and I think it was an attrition game on Demeter, and I was just chilling on the back of a Titan with the Archer, just firing at stuff. So like this Titan I was on was just killing stuff faster than it could be hurt, because we've got two sources of firepower coming from it, and that was actually pretty fun, despite the difficulty of trying to aim whilst on the back of a Titan. That kind of worked out. It was just kind of cool. And it definitely boosted my spend some time on the back of a friendly Titan challenge.
Dumb.
Completely pointless.
Yeah.
all the challenges that have really short time limits are inevitably done. Where it's just like, why don't you hang on a wall? Because no one ever does. Even though technically that can sometimes be a good surprise strategy, no one thinks to even do it. And it's not actually that convenient because you have to be aiming the whole time.
I have been caught out by guys, like, say, in some flag rooms, for instance, that have just decided to crab up halfway up a wall because they saw me coming, because no one looks there.
No, exactly. It's like, but that's no one looks there because no one actually remembers to do that.
Yeah, I just forget that it exists. I think I've used it, like, I think I've killed someone from a hanging position once, and that was totally by accident. Because I panicked. I was in the middle of running, and someone was coming, and it's like, oh shit! So I just held down aim, and then it's like, oh yeah, I can do this.
I also feel part of my problem with Titanfall is that the majority of the weapons are pointless.
I think Zach had this beef, was it?
It was like, the sniper rifles are complete naff. You're never going to need to use them.
I don't mind using the DMR, but I'm not a big fan of the Kraber.
They're both pretty awful, though, because...
Yeah, I'm using them to try and force myself to use them. Is the thing. I've been doing this a lot this last couple of weeks. I've been trying just not to use the carbine.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm realising that none of the weapons just feel as good as using the carbine.
I absolutely love the LMG. That's my weapon of choice.
Oh, I can't use that for shit.
The LMG's amazing. It's so good.
I really tried and I just cannot use it. It's like, if I get caught out, they just... Like, the kick is so extreme. That
the thing is...
Well, it has the same thing as the stupid LMG in 2142.
Yeah,
right? It's more accurate the longer you fire it.
So you have to...
But if you get caught out and you're, like, firing it, you have to be the one that fires first by some margin to get any kind of accuracy on what you're trying to shoot at.
Well, the thing is, it's got loads of ammo, so you're better off pre-firing.
Oh yeah, just hold all the time, yeah.
So like, if you think there's someone there, just fire while you go around the corner. Yeah. That's what I do.
I mean, that's not a tactic it's hard to train me back into that tactic because of, you know, I'm a map watcher, like, much to Zach's surprise. Like, I'm watching
I watch the map all the time.
Well, I started looking at it slightly more, but then it's just like, I'm still not... The only time... Well, no, actually, I guess...
Can you put a suppressor on the LMG?
I don't remember. I never used one.
I would hope not.
That'd be really funny.
I think you can. I'm not sure, but I've never used one on it. But
because you could pre-fire and no one would see you.
Maybe you can. I can't remember.
I just don't find the map that useful even when I do look at it because there's just too many different heights people can be at is the main problem.
It does say though.
Well, yeah, that's like even tinier than the dots. That's not something you see at a quick glance very often.
Yeah, I use the map all the damn time. You have to.
It's like I've been trying to train myself to do the Spectre hacking thing more often.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
No, I don't think I've ever...
I did it to get the achievement and then I stopped.
And Rob didn't even know you could do it for a start.
Oh, no, I did.
Well, he sort of vaguely knew that
I didn't know how liberal the timing actually is because, I don't know, I never saw the prompt.
Right.
Like
you have to be
the prompt,
right next to them.
The prompt
and by that
only
time
appears.
you shot them.
Yeah, but you can actually do it from some distance away, and you're sort of lunge.
Yeah.
It's like, but I didn't realise you could do that, so I never thought that was a useful tactic. It was just like, well, I'm this far away, I'm going to shoot him.
Yeah. I would do it more, but the trouble is I just never realised that they're robots until I've already started shooting. Because it's just like, it's a red name, shoot at it. Oh wait, I maybe should have had that instead.
There is that too. I was using the ice pick for a while, and that is kind of cool.
Super fast hack.
Yeah, that is kind of cool when you start doing that. Like,
there's no other use for it though.
Well, the turret.
Yeah, but it's almost pointless.
Oh, I don't know.
As an added thing, you're better off having something else, surely.
Sometimes.
I can't remember what else goes in that slot.
That slot is kind of crappy. There's as the one with like Dead Man Trigger and stuff in it. And
yeah.
What are the other ones? Explosives. That's the one I always use.
The explosive kit, yeah. Well, that just gives you like an extra couple of nades most of the time, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, one extra nade. Which is much more useful in my opinion. Especially satchel charges.
Yeah, I've only just get started to try and figure those out, but... I think the delay on activation is the tricky part with them. There's a short delay of like when you try and activate them.
Yeah, but it's basically exactly the same as the C4 in COD.
Yeah,
it's no different. Apart from the explosion seems bigger.
Explosion does seem enormous.
Yeah,
and they can actually do some nasty damage to Titans as well.
Yeah, if their shield's down, they'll take off a good quarter at least.
Yeah, I
if not
have
more.
been killed by satchel charges unexpectedly.
Well, that's
on a Titan.
a new thing I've been doing. You know, when you rodeo now, everyone always either gets out or electric smokes you.
Yeah, because
Pretty
why
much
wouldn't you?
guaranteed. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, everyone gets out of the Titan with me. Yeah, they just immediately jump out. And
Yeah, it's like the done thing now. But whereas in the beta, nobody did it. for some
No
reason.
no one seemed aware that what that meant. It's like, someone's rodeoing me. What the fuck does that mean?
Yeah.
I sometimes wish there was some kind of team indicator. Because it's like if there was just a way to say to your team, oh shit, get this guy off me, when there's two Titans standing right next to each other and the other one could just punch him.
Oh, but I guess that's the point though, isn't it? It's like it's supposed to... Yeah, if you're talking, it will be people...
It's just like I want a commo rose. A lot of the time I just hit Q. I'm just like, I'm trying to spot things, and it's like, that's not the right button. In fact, this button doesn't do anything.
I did that during the beta on the PC as well. It was just like, that means nothing.
Yeah, I kind of wish you could spot, because it would
spot would
be
be
really
nice.
helpful.
Like, you can see a pilot from miles away, but you can't quite communicate where they are because the levels are so complex. It's like, I think when me and you played a couple of times, and like there was only one or two times where I could sort of sensibly say where the pilot was in relation to you. It's like, hey, there's a pilot on your left, and you're like, yeah, I see him.
Yeah, but yeah, when you rodeo, what I've been doing lately when I rodeo a Titan is you break open the thing or whatever, and then you throw a satchel charge in and then jump off and then blow it up.
Yeah. I was wondering whether how that actually functioned, because I'd never actually tried it with the satchel charges.
Do they stick then?
Yeah, they stick, yeah.
And they didn't strike me as like the sticky type, because they just look like a backpack.
Yeah.
So it's like, I thought, well, if I try and shove it, is it just going to fly somewhere? So I jump off and land on it or something.
The one thing that happened to me one time related, which is essentially the same as that tactic, only maybe better, was like someone rodeoed onto me, and then I tried to jump out, and he just threw a satchel charge onto the ground and blew me up.
Oh no, I've seen that quite a bit after you mentioned it. Yeah,
Well, yeah. One of the ones I've done is when someone's on my Titan, I get out, throw a satchel charge at the Titan, and blow it up, and that kills them.
Does that do damage to your Titan?
No, because it's friendly. Isn't
Well,
it?
yeah, it's your one though.
Yeah, it doesn't do anything. Yeah. So that's a pretty cool way of dealing with it.
But that was before I had electric smoke, so now I just have electric smoke.
I never use electric smoke. I always use the vortex shield because it's so useful against other Titans.
yeah, Vortex is pretty amazing.
I just prefer to keep firing.
Because if you're up against a chain gun, you just take so much damage if you have no way of stopping it. If you haven't got a shield.
I don't worry about the chain guns that much.
Well, if you haven't got a shield, they rip through you like nothing. It's crazy how much damage they do. Like, whereas most of the other weapons are pretty even, no matter whether you have shield or not, kind of thing.
I guess, yeah.
Well,
The 40 mil is quite
Yeah.
balanced.
Whereas the chain gun just destroys you if you haven't got your shield on.
And then you can also, as I did a couple of times, it was like, it's always fun when you can use the electric smoke to basically use it offensively as well.
Oh,
Like when,
charge in, fire it. And then...
well, no, not just like that, but there was one time when there was just like a pilot in a clump of rocks and no one could actually shoot at him, and we were all in Titans, and then it was just like, well, if I stand really close to the rocks and just smoke, it will cover enough of those rocks to kill that guy. Or the other time when like someone dropped their Titan in, but he died before the Titan activated, so it's still in the bubble shield. So I just ran through the bubble shield, dropped my smoke in his bubble shield, and then when it turned off, it immediately took tons of damage from the smoke, which was kind of useful.
So I'm still having connection problems.
Yeah.
I don't quite know what the problem is. Like, I have read around, and there is a little bit of a history of the Technicolor routers having a bit of a problem with Xbox Live stuff in general. But I put my Xbone in the DMZ while I play now, and I've even gone to the effort of making sure that the Xbox lease on my DHCP is always the same, so it always gets the same IP address from the router, and therefore I can just turn the DMZ on without having to find the IP address of the device and all that stuff. So I've made it a lot easier for myself, but it still fucking doesn't do like returning to the private lobby still kicks me out to the main menu. I tried the new matchmaking thing, which is apparently the normal now, which
it is, yeah.
I haven't tried since it's become the normal, but that didn't fucking work for me, because whenever it tried to do a server migration to matchmake you with people that were more at my skill level, I got kicked to the main menu. And it's like, so I'm having quite a lot of problem right now. And like you know, we had this conversation, Kips and I, about how to try and sort this. And Kips is right. I haven't found a lot of info about people having this problem. So it's kind of doing my head in right now. Yeah. I did find some more ports that may be associated with the Azure range that are applicable to both PC and Xbox users. So I've opened those up now. And I haven't tried it since, in fairness.
Part of the problem we've been having as well is I can't party chat with you. I can party chat with everyone else.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about, because that in theory is unrelated to Titanfall.
Yeah, it's not a Titanfall issue. It's just it just doesn't work with you. I don't know why.
But it always had done until recently. Yeah. Which makes me think that it's not that bit can't be the router, because nothing's changed on the router at that front. So I have no idea what's going on. It's a bit of a mess at the moment for me, trying to do stuff properly on live. Or maybe I was always joining one of your groups rather than...
Maybe. I don't know.
So connectivity sounds like it shouldn't... I kind of feel like it shouldn't be this big a problem. So, you know, like needing to port forward stuff in a home network just sounds like...
Well, I've just literally I've got that new router, and I've done... nothing. I haven't port forwarded anything.
When you say new router, what one have you got? Because I was highly tempted on just buying some new
I didn't buy
stuff.
one, it's just an EE router.
Oh.
Mum had spare one, so I nicked one of hers and hacked it to put my ISP on it.
Fair enough.
And I haven't port forwarded anything, done anything, and it works flawlessly with everything.
Well, I didn't... The Technicolor routers don't actually let you port forward to an Xbox, because the ports that Xbox Live uses... I think it's tight. I actually went into Telnet and started cocking around in the command line interface for this thing to try and find out what actually is going on. And I think it's because it has some rules set up, because the router provides what it calls game mode, which supposedly lets it deal with what it thinks are Xboxes and forward stuff to that.
Stuff like that, don't they?
And I looked at the rules list that it knew about how to do port forwarding and stuff, and it had already assigned the Xbox Live ports to my Xbone, despite the fact that if I try and do it manually, it says, oh, you can't do that because there's a conflict. And it's like, so game mode did seem to be doing the right thing. It did seem to be sending the Xbox Live requests to the right device. But then that begs the question, why the fuck is it still not working? It's like, I don't know.
It seems really weird.
I hate network connectivity issues like this, because they all feel like it just shouldn't be a problem anymore.
Just seems like you should try a different router and see what happens.
Yeah. Well, see, I was looking at like super fancy ones. Like I started looking at because wireless AC is now out, which is like it's the new standard past N.
Yeah.
And it's like super fast. And I was looking at that, just going, oh, maybe this will. Because I was also having problems on this week where I think the Wi-Fi in my router is becoming a problem. Because it was reporting that it could only run at a maximum of 6 megs, which is kind of awful. And so I noticed it on my work PC, which is the other side of the house, while I'm trying to upload large quantities of files, and it saying, yeah, this is going to take half an hour for something that would normally be like a minute. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? So I spent a while trying to troubleshoot that. I don't know what's going on, so I was looking at these fancy AC routers to try and sort of, well, maybe this will solve the problem.
It does sound like it's
proper expensive
shit up though, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. They're proper expensive though, AC routers right now. Like you need to you need to be £100 plus for something, whereas you can probably get by with like a £30 N router these days easily.
You could probably pick one up on eBay super cheap just to see if it works.
Yeah, it's highly tempting. Because I do not like this router. I don't like the way it's been fine up till recently, but the interface has always been such a bastard to use. It's just the weirdest thing. It's like you go to a page about your firewall settings, for instance, and it's like it will just list stuff. Well, it might not be the firewall. Some of the pages, it will just list you the details of the thing, and it's like, well, I want to change those. Where do I go to change those? And there's this really sort of awkward looking block of text in the top right that says either overview or configure mode, and you have to swap between the mode, and then it will show you the config options for some of the stuff, maybe. and it's slow and it's just rubbish. Fuck you, Technicolor.
Can't say I've ever heard of them, to be honest.
It used to be Thompson, I think.
Oh, right. I've heard of Thompson. That's what my old one was.
Yeah. They're the same, yeah. It is essentially a Thompson router, but it got they rebranded the whole lot as Technicolor. So it's probably the same as the one you had.
Yeah. Well, my old one was really old though. I've had it for years. So they've probably changed it since then.
Maybe. Yeah.
So, do you have to have a special thing on your router for fibre?
Yeah, you have a BT OpenReach cable modem that goes into a special port in your house. So, for instance, my cable modem is down there, and that's the only place where it can work.
Right.
And then you have to attach your router which is FTTC compatible via Ethernet to that cable router.
Oh, I see.
So there's two routers basically to make it work. And the second router is the one that actually dials your ISP. And
So what does the first one actually do? Is it just transcoding the signal or whatever?
I guess, yeah. It must be
kind of like the blocks you used to get with broadband.
Yeah, it must be like a really having to do a lot of fancy digital filtering or something. I don't know, because as I say, I don't know exactly how it works, but it's fibre to the cabinet around here rather than fibre to your house. And so presumably, and they have to do this weird thing with, like, as I say, that's the only socket that can work on internet now, the one next to where we're sitting. And the socket, the other corner of this room, is the only one that works with phone now. Like, all the other sockets in the house no longer work.
Great. That's brilliant for your house.
Yeah. I was kind of just okay with it at the time, because it's just like, fuck it, I want fibre. And the guys were just like, I don't know how we're going to make this work. Let's just see what happens. And
so, what, like, the engineers didn't even know?
No.
Great.
That seems really bizarre.
Yeah.
Do all those...
Well, I can't even get it yet, so...
Well, they always got sort of confused with our ADSL setup, because we have this like box out the front of the house as well, so in theory they don't have to come in to change anything. We don't have the concept of a master socket, like, in this house by that definition.
So each of the sockets in the house run down to that box out the front?
Yeah.
Right.
And unfortunately you needed the concept of a master socket to make fibre work, hence why why they had to wire stuff to an individual socket to get stuff to behave.
Right.
But when we got ADSL installed, this box out the front seemed to confuse people. They were like, I'm not quite sure how to make this work, and it took them like several weeks to get it right. Like,
more examples of why these new houses are weird for some reason, which is like...
Well, I don't think they do that anymore. I think they went for a phase of doing this, thinking it would be easier, but it was a bit of a short-sighted idea that no one understands.
But that means if all your phone cables lead to that box instead of to a master socket, you can't even pull them out and like rig an Ethernet cord through them. Because they'll go outside rather than to a place in your house where you can put an Ethernet cable through.
Yeah, it depends if they've got proper conduits, I suppose. Don't know. House wiring.
Yeah, so all those sockets are basically completely useless now.
Well, yeah, that's the other thing. So if it's the Wi-Fi, then that's at fault. Then maybe the Xbone is suffering because of the Wi-Fi, because I've got that wired up that way.
I see.
Which then makes me think, do I want
for me?
Well, yeah, your bone's right next. Well, it's not too big a distance, is it?
It's the other side of the room, but it's still.
Yeah, you've got one less corner to traverse.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was wondering if, like, perhaps those power link things, because people say good things about those.
Yeah.
Like whether that's a good idea. Get a set of those to run those upstairs rather than use Wi-Fi on my work stuff. And so you may hear more about Networking Central.
Joy. In Rob's continuing quest to not run a cable around this room.
I don't want to run cables. I'm past cables. I have enough fucking cables running around.
And yet none of those cables are actually important, really.
None of those cables are helpful, no, apart from the surround sound. That is the most useful set of cables.
Barely, though. Really.
Barely.
How often does sound actually come out of those speakers?
All the time. Everything is done in surround now. Like, most TV has surround in some way. Like, they'll just put crowd noise out the back. But
Joy.
It doesn't matter what you're watching, they put crowd noise out. Be a dramatic, like, period drama, and in the background they're just, wheel, wheel. So Titanfall, you got anything else?
No, it's fun. I like it.
I think we meant any other games, not just more Forza at Titanfall.
Forza 5 again, because it's awesome.
I kind of burnt myself out on that a bit, I think. Like, I haven't gone back to it for ages.
No, I gave it a rest for a couple of months. But now I'm back on it. But I'm way ahead of you, and I've had it way less than you.
You are, yeah. But then you just get into stuff and play one game more than I do. I have a busier lifestyle.
I've been using the F1 cars and stuff just to see what they were like.
Oh, I haven't tried those yet.
It's freaking mental. They're just stupidly fast. I tried it without traction control on because I've been trying to do everything without traction control on lately.
I went back on my plan for that. Some cars are just insane with it off.
Well, yeah, I've struggled with a few. The F1 cars was one of them. That was freaking impossible.
I struggled with the track day.
Yeah, I've just done those ones, and they were really hard without traction control.
Really hard a bit off. Yeah,
I've managed to do it eventually, but I don't think I play on quite as hard as you.
I've got my difficulty pretty high.
Mine's on, I don't know, one under expert or something. Is it expert? I don't know.
There's quite a few levels.
Yeah.
I'm at least 75% up the difficulty tree, I think, when I play. But I used to play with like as much off as I could stand, which was basically everything apart from auto gears. And for a lot of the slower cars, that's absolutely fine. But as soon as you get to the faster cars, I don't think a controller is adequate for dealing with that.
No.
Because it used to be much more... I remember it being much more manageable when I used to play Forza 2 with everything turned off. Like, you'd go in a 911 or... Well, it wasn't a 911, it was those rough versions, the RUF versions of Porsches, because no one can get the Porsche license, it seems, apart from Need for Speed. You try those, and because of their ridiculous heavy butt handling, like, they were kind of a nightmare to keep straight round corners, because they would just be going all the time. But on a wheel, that was kind of fun, because, you very quickly had to learn throttle control for that car. It's I just cannot imagine. I've like on cars that have had that same sort of behaviour. I just cannot imagine me being able to get good enough with a controller to be able to pull that off. You don't have quite the finesse of steering and quite the. It's like I turned off after a while the simulation steering mode as well. Because
I've not tried that yet, but I've heard that's pretty stupid. It's
pretty rough, yeah, because it's like, I think it does, when you've got it on normal mode, it's actually doing quite a lot of damping as to, like, so when you mash on the stick, that the wheel just doesn't go dunk, and it isn't immediately in the place, so it sort of like pads it out. And if you're going faster, for instance, I think he will turn to that position, your driver will turn to the point you've like just mashed your controller down to slower. So, and sometimes that's a problem because like sometimes it feels like I want to be turning the wheel more than this, but you're taking a while to get there. So if you're doing like trying to do little feathery adjustments on the stick, he's very quick to go back to neutral, but then takes some time to go back to where you were. So like you feather an adjustment and you're actually just driving straight for a while. So I tried simulation mode to try and get around that, but then that just makes it way too easy to spin a car because it will snap more to where you want it to be, and then of course it's like, well, you don't drive like that. Oh, spin out.
I still think that's one of the best racing games I've played online. It's just mental. I love it. It's just so funny.
So anarchic.
Yeah, but that's why I love it. It's just hilarious. It's not proper racing, that's what I love. It's just mental.
I'm not sure that's what I go in for when I play Forza.
No.
I go in for it because I quite like the challenge of trying to race well.
Oh, but you
and
can.
And nobody fucking does.
Yeah, but you can still do that. But you just got to go in with a mentality that someone's probably going to fuck you up.
Yeah.
But if you're okay with that, then it's fine.
But then the problem with like that mentality is then you end up becoming it. Like,
yes, you do. Yeah.
Like if you go into it thinking, well, someone's probably going to fuck me up. You go into it with the mentality, well, I'm probably going to fuck someone up.
But the thing is,
so you just do it.
But you do even when you don't want to. Sometimes that's just racing.
Well, it's like there was the occasion, like when you and I managed to finally get into a party together at one point, and we're just casually driving along. And there was one point where you were sort of knocking into the side of me on a straight, and it's like, Kips, that's me. We were sort of had this gentleman's pact, not to screw each other up, and like you're just sort of casually wedging me off the road slowly. And then you could just hear Jammy in the background going, "What are you doing, you idiot?"
It's just really fun. When Jammy's back next time, we have to get on there and play.
All right.
Because it's awesome. I love it. I mean, it is annoying when you get taken out, but you just have to sort of accept it. I mean, the races aren't long enough for it to really matter anyway.
Well, some of them can be. Like, the full Le Mans circuit is quite epic. And that's the other thing. Some of the cars are like in some of the that the races allow you to pick are sometimes just that little bit too varied. You know, even within the like top spec of a class bracket, it's just like the race doesn't sometimes feel close enough because of the differences in the cars. And it's like maybe the game needs more options about how to manage its like rooms. So it's like random car mode where it puts everyone in the same random car would be kind of cool.
That would be cool.
But one of the best things we always used to do with Forza 1 and Forza 2 was just all mini fights on the most complicated circuits the game had to offer.
Yeah.
They were all great. They were just a right laugh.
Well, you could still do it in a private lobby.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. I think they should need to embrace...
Well, they do like special ones every now and again, but I don't know what the fuck they are. But
I think they haven't been inventive enough with their game types. So it's like, I want to see them go a bit crazy. I want to see them do... As I say, just little things like that that the game would already support. I think would be fine. Like,
well, I haven't tried any of the party ones like tag and stuff.
Yeah, they just sound dumb.
Yeah.
So
Forza's awesome.
I
Can't go wrong with that.
I still prefer it over GT.
Oh, definitely. I played GT5 before the Xbox came out.
Oh, you played GT5 or have you...
Gran Turismo 5, yeah.
Have you tried 6?
I've not tried 6.
You've not tried 6, okay.
But I thought 5 was...
5 is gone.
Beyond bad.
5 is gone awful.
I barely touched it because it was just terrible.
How much of that music could you bear?
Well, it was funny for a while.
That's what I mean. It's funny,
to be fair,
for a while.
Forza's music's no better.
No, but at least you don't...
Not any longer.
But at least it's sort of inoffensive, whereas like the GT5 music was just flat out ear-wrenching. It would reach out of the telly, grab both of my lobes, and like pull them down and ping them back towards my face. It was that bad.
Okay.
Well, we did vote it the Saladcast worst music.
Yeah, but let's be honest. When we're voting something the something of a year, it tends to be between like the one thing we can remember and one thing we haven't seen.
Very accurate. I don't know. We had Sonic 4 to put that up against. Both were pretty good candidates.
Yeah.
I've heard the Yoshi's Island new one of that has got the worst music for a long time.
Well, if it's any like
terrible,
if it's anything like how badly they tried to update the graphics, then yeah, I imagine it is.
Yeah.
If they tried to do the same thing to the old music in the new musical style, it's probably pretty shocking.
Yeah, well, from what I've heard, every level has the same melody, just slightly different with like different setting of the music or whatever. But the melody's terrible, so it's like, oh great.
Do they do the new Super Mario things of like where every other thing has to be a blah blah?
I don't remember there being blah blahs, but
No, I think they've saved that one for just the Mario.
Oh, good.
but that's quite amusing though,
Blah blah.
because all the Koopas and stuff go blah blah.
Yeah. I haven't ever really played any of the new ones with any.
Well, me and Jeremy have been playing the original one.
What, on the
Wii one?
Oh, the Wii one, right. Yeah.
That's pretty funny. We've got to like the 7th world or something. Super hard.
I don't-
Always just shit.
I don't like, if I get a Wii U,
Or you're just killing each other all the time.
There is that as well.
if I do get a Wii U, I do kind of want to get both the 2D and 3D Mario games just to sort of
Yeah.
see where
Yeah,
they've
they're
gone, if you know what I mean. Because we have this massive problem with the new Super Mario series because they're just not crazy inventive compared to new Super Mario as a concept, fine. I'm all okay with that. I just don't like necessarily the lack of innovation they've done over like the last 3 or 4 variants of it.
They're just shitting them out, basically.
Yeah. Blah, blah.
But it's Mario and it's fun. Doesn't really matter if it's the same shit, it's still fun.
Yeah. What else you got?
PvZ, I guess.
Are you still playing that?
Still playing that.
I finally got a custom character.
Oh, which one did you
I
get?
got Fireflower.
Oh, the Firefly. I've not got that one.
Pretty cool.
I got the Fire Cactus. He's awesome.
Fire Cactus.
I just love, like... It's got the best... if Titanfall had something like PvZ does with the booster pack thing, it'd be the best thing ever.
More of a reason to
Keep playing it.
to get locked in. That's your problem with Titanfall, isn't it? The sort of Zach, I suppose, the progression stuff just isn't... There's just not enough.
It's just like, I don't agree with the prestiging thing, which is like, I don't want to unlock all the same stuff again. That's not actually appealing. That's like an anti-unlock.
You don't have to do it, though, do you?
No. But then it feels like you're wasting experience.
But it's
the
But
problem.
there's not enough... I think it works more better in COD because there's so much stuff
Yeah.
that you can take a different route through it the second time.
But even so, with COD, with Titanfall, with anything really, you normally stick to the guns you like anyway.
Well, yeah, but that wouldn't be so much of a problem in Titanfall if it wasn't the first gun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, for me it's not, because I love the LMG the best.
Yeah.
Probably.
And
You get that at like level 47.
Yeah, but that's like the opposite one, where it's
Yeah.
like the gun you want is the last thing you unlock before you reset it and lose it.
in fairness, I did happen in COD blobs, didn't it? Where like
The last one was the AN-94,
our favourite assault rifle is the bloody last one.
But
COD
luckily,
gives you more of an incentive to stick with a gun anyway, though, because the gun
prestige
leveling
level,
thing.
yeah. But you also got the permanent unlock, which meant you could keep a gun you liked,
Yeah.
even when you prestige.
So you reach level 50 and just keep that AN rifle. And just have it the next time. You're like, yep, this is much better.
To be fair, though, I used quite a lot of different guns in Black
Yeah.
Ops. I had like a different setup for every map, pretty much.
I wasn't that bad, but I did used to vary it quite a bit. Whereas, we talked about it before. Moving on. PvZ.
PvZ, yeah, it's good fun. Like, yeah, as I was saying, the booster pack thing, I wish Titanfall had that sort of aspect where you get random packs or whatever, and you get customized stuff. Like, you could get...
I kind of wish that loop was a bit quicker. Like, so it didn't take so many games to earn enough for one of the nicer packs, but...
I like that
I guess
system.
that's the hook, though.
Yeah, because you're always going to unlock something cool eventually.
It
For your
doesn't.
characters.
It doesn't give you duplicates, does it?
No, you never get
apart from the
duplicates.
consumables, so that works pretty well.
But
There's just so much as well.
Yeah, they added over 100 recently as well.
Oh god.
And there's new abilities per character now as well.
Oh man.
So you can unlock more. Like you got the chili bomb, you can unlock a different version of the chili bomb now.
Oh, and then what? They're also options, are they?
You have to get them in booster packs, yeah, and then you can choose.
So does it behave like you can choose to swap that out for the different behaving?
Yeah, so there's different versions of those now as well for every character.
I gotta admit, I'm constantly surprised by how PvZ are handling it. Like the free updates is kind of a new thing, I suppose, for what is a budget title on a console. It's like, yeah, it's great. Don't get me wrong, but you would never see this from any other game, really,
Well,
unless like a MOBA came out or something on a console, or if Monday Night Combat was back and didn't charge for DLC, that kind of thing.
I honestly think that any multiplayer-only game should, when it's adding stuff, it should be free, unless it's something cosmetic.
Yeah, well, yeah, because the problem with map packs is they always kind of...
They fragment the community,
Yeah.
that's the issue.
Yeah, and I've hated that. You're either in or you're out, and it's like... No one has really beaten, for me anyway, the Halo 2 model was always, I thought, the way to do it, which is, sure, if you're super enthusiastic about it like we were at the time, charge for the map packs, but then a few months down the line, free them up. So it's like, so if you're really into it or something, you can buy into it like we did, and then in the knowledge that when the next one comes out, the first one's going to be free, and it's and I reckon that's a fine model for most people. I mean, the whole it comes out early on Xbox thing has driven the community, I guess, to Xbox. And
it's like...
Or it's one of the factors. It's not the only factor.
Because Call of Duty Black Ops 2 is probably my favourite multiplayer game in a very long time. I would like to play the other maps, but I'm not paying...
Their prices.
Yeah.
Yeah, the map pack prices are dumb.
Especially this long after its release. It's like, it's a dead game now. You know, they don't support it anymore. They could at least, you know, make them a little bit cheaper.
It's just as a sort of a goodwill gesture, isn't it? Yeah, I don't know why that ever stopped. It's like
even the Modern Warfare 2 or 3 maps are still the same price they were when they released.
This is a conjecture, but do you reckon people just go back and play older games more often? And so, like, they feel like they can keep charging for things like the add-ons.
Probably.
Because not every game gets a JOTY edition that obviously solves this problem, where you just get everything. In most cases. Except for Burnout Paradise, where it's like bundle pack that like doesn't actually have the final DLC for some reason. And there's still stuff you have to buy.
I don't know, I just don't think there's any harm in giving it away for free after a while.
Yeah.
Especially, like, as I say, like, once you've moved on to the next game in the franchise or whatever, there's no reason to care at that point, surely.
Once again, everyone needs to take a long, hard look at Halo. Specifically Halo 2, because they did drop that idea in 3 onwards.
Well, I'd quite like a game to come out where it's multiplayer only or whatever, but the maps are like Forge maps. So you could never charge for maps. Why has
Forge not been more copied?
Yeah.
Because Forge was awesome.
Like, you could just make a game that's... its maps are entirely made in this, like, Forge-style thing.
That's kind of a dead art, isn't it? The map editor. For, like, shooters. Like, I'm trying to think what the last console-based shooter other than Halo was that actually attempted that, and the only one I can think of is Timesplitters 3. Had a pretty good one.
It just seems like a great idea for a multiplayer game, because you could always make new maps, never have to charge for them, and just instantly change the map rotation.
Yeah.
Without having to download anything, because it's all using in-game assets.
Content assets. It was, yeah.
I mean, it might be quite boring aesthetically, but...
Well, as Forge was. But
yeah, but it'd be awesome, because the Forge maps are pretty cool most of the time.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it is an underdeveloped concept.
Because that was awesome, like in Halo Reach, because there's always changing out the Forge maps in rotation.
Yeah.
So you always had, like, new maps every now and then.
Fairly regularly, yeah. There wasn't really much Forge stuff in 4, was there?
There was a little bit, but it was mostly not Forge.
I hope that 343 kind of realised the importance of that stuff. Because Reach nailed it, and...
Yeah, Reach is still my favourite. I never really got into 4 as much as I thought I would.
I gotta admit, I didn't get into 4 as much as I thought, but I do prefer it. Like, conceptually, I think it's better. I think I had a problem with some of the map design in places, but...
My issue with 4 was the fact that they got rid of a lot of the things I loved about it, which was, like, you have to pick up the weapons instead of, like...
Oh, yeah, they went loadout, didn't they?
You have loadouts, and you instantly got the best weapon, pretty much.
Yeah, it was annoying that they didn't... That would have been fine for a game mode, because, you know, some of Halo's game modes always were like SWAT or something, where everyone starts with the weapons you need to be able to play it. But yeah, it's a bit annoying that they didn't... The classic game type wasn't there.
Because that was part of the fun of Halo Reach on some of the levels, was battling for the shotgun or...
Yeah, exactly. You hunt, you sort of lock down those areas of the map, because you know that's where the power things are going to be. And
yeah, or the sword or the sniper or something. You knew where...
Oh, well, yeah, sword's still a thing, isn't it? But...
Yeah, but... Like,
or is it in... That's not even a thing, is it?
Sword is there, yeah.
But is it...
I don't know how you get it.
I can't remember. Was it an ordnance?
Probably, yeah. I don't like that ordnance, because I like the idea of fighting for the rocket launcher or...
Yeah. They tried some new things, I'm not sure it worked. They tried the COD model in Halo, and I'm not sure it totally works.
It was still a good game, but it just wasn't as fun.
Yeah, I don't know. there was some. It was slicker in a lot of ways than some of the previous ones.
The other problem I have with it is it killed split screen multiplayer basically because
it
the
did.
frame rate was too impossible to play it.
It did. Well, yeah, Halo 4 was one of those games where it was just like, how is the Xbox doing this in the first place? It looks better than what you should expect from that console, really, in places. Yeah, it's kind of impressive. You got to play anything else there? Or are you done?
I'm probably done.
So
There's
PvZ
probably other stuff, but I can't remember.
PvZ is still awesome. Oh yeah, well I played Gnome mode. We got around to doing that on PvZ. We haven't talked about that.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it turns out it's I was wrong in our conjecture about it being a multi-flag mode and that it's neutral bomb really. Neutral bomb with multiple bomb spots, like obliteration or. Maybe we did talk about this. I'm remembering that conversation.
Well, we talked about it. I don't know if we talked about it on the podcast.
Yeah, but it works really well.
It's good fun.
Yeah.
But again, it's entirely based on team balance.
I guess, but the teams are quite large, so it's never.
It's a lot better than say something like Titanfall.
Yeah, you're less susceptible to like one guy bringing the team down, I suppose. And that's the one thing. The only people you end up really hearing in Plants vs Zombies are the kids with their parents trying to explain that's a flower. No, that's a cactus. That kind of thing.
It's a pretty hardcore game, really.
Yeah. It almost shouldn't be, but it works.
Like, it's super hard to get kills half the time. It's not an easy game half the time. It's good.
It's good. Come on, Jiggle. What you got?
What have I got?
What you got?
Several things. Several.
Alright, that's good to hear. Right, what have I been doing?
Yeah. Well, the first thing, which I guess was the only actually new thing, was that NASA asteroid redirection mission for Kerbal Space Program came out.
Oh yeah, what's that like?
Sponsored by NASA. With NASA logos. You can have the NASA logo as your flag now legitimately rather than just putting it in yourself.
Right.
Which is obviously what everyone did. But yeah, it's not as difficult as I thought it would be. Because it was just like, well, I mean, I did it in Sandbox, so I didn't have to research the equipment and I didn't have to make do with what I had or whatever. Because it turned out when I loaded up my career mode that I had been playing previously, at about the point where I was at in the tech tree was where you unlock the grabbing device.
Right.
Although maybe not all the other bits and pieces that would have been appropriate for that kind of rocket. So I just went into Sandbox, built a rocket that I thought would probably do it, launched it, flew it, found a nearby asteroid, flew to it, grabbed it, brought it back to orbit, put it in orbit, and then I was like, well, that was fairly easy, surprisingly. Did it first try on a C-class asteroid, which is like the middle-sized one. I imagine the bigger ones would be quite difficult, because even with that C-class, it was like, that made, as soon as you grab onto it, it's just like, you've just made your ship hella heavy, so your acceleration is incredibly low, and your turning is incredibly slow.
Yeah, I imagine.
So yeah, that was weird. And
So when you're not in Sandbox mode, does that play like... You have to start from scratch, but you have a certain time limit until things hit the planet?
No, it doesn't care about things hitting the planet. Like, the asteroids seem to be randomly spawned, and like about a quarter of them will be hitting the planet.
Right.
Doesn't really give a shit. And the other thing is, like, unless you're actually... I don't think you can actually look at the asteroids unless you're... Well, I don't think you can actually just look at them. Unlike stuff like planets and moons, where you can focus the camera, or your other ships, of course, where you can go and look at them. It's like you can't focus the camera onto an asteroid, so you can't watch an asteroid crash into the planet.
I see.
Unless you happen to be attached to it at the time, of course. So yeah, that's kind of weird. I think that would be better. I mean, they could. Surely it wouldn't be that difficult to make it so it doesn't randomly generate them colliding with the planet, except for occasionally, and then makes that a big deal.
Yeah. Might be a direction for the career mode to take, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Or make it so like, or like weight it so that mostly only small asteroids hit the planet.
At first.
Yeah, exactly. Then eventually there'll be the big one, and you'll be like, oh shit, you better be ready to get out there and divert this thing. I mean, the hardest part of it was the docking procedure, really, because I'd eventually arranged my orbits, and it was like, so I was fucking around with trying to get the orbit to intercept. And the first problem is, because the asteroids are so incredibly tiny, like, actually getting you next to them is incredibly fiddly. Even, they now made it so that when you're hovering the mouse over one of the nodes on the maneuver adjustment thing, you can now mouse wheel to do, like, precision adjustments. But even with that, it's such an incredibly tiny target. You're making tiny adjustments, and it's still it's also maybe not accurate enough in the predictive simulation.
Oh, right,
so you'll adjust something, and because when I was adjusting the final approach, it's like as you scroll up or down the speed or whatever you're changing to approach, it'll be like your closest approach marker will step up the line, and then it will step up the line again. And then it will just reset, and then it will step up again, and it's like it doesn't seem to really know what the fuck it's trying to do. But I eventually got my closest intercept down to 32 kilometers, and I was like, well, that's pretty fucking close. So I ran that. But the trouble with the asteroids is that because they're so tiny, they don't have any gravitational well. So you're doing a totally free space docking.
I see. Right.
So even though I had a closest approach of 32 kilometers, because there was no gravity well to go into, I pretty much just had to do it by eye at that point, because I was once it got to 50 kilometers out, I just had to switch into so I could see it, and then be use the nav ball, because you can when you've got a target, it puts a dot on the nav ball that points towards where the target is. But what would make it much, much easier is if there was some kind of relative speed point on the nav ball, because it tells you your speed, so it shows you the direction you're going and the anti-direction you're going, and where the dot on the thing where if you point towards it, you'll be pointing towards it. But what you actually need is something that tells you.
Well, you bit in a fighting game, it shows you the lead.
Yeah, because it's you can set the speed marker to tell you the relative speed to target, but that doesn't give you a vector. So it's it's moving at 200 meters a second, I guess, towards me because it's getting closer. So then I just had to sort of eyeball it and try and burn myself in the right direction to get rid of all that speed, so I could actually just turn around and do a normal docking maneuver onto it. It's that was probably the hardest part of that. But I totally got it. It was fine. And it was surprisingly... I didn't think it was going to be so easy to actually get it into orbit once I did that. Because I picked one that was on a collision course, because I was like, well, why wouldn't you?
Let's do this for real.
Yeah, let's do this the hardcore way. Even though towards the end of this, by the time I was bringing this one into orbit, I noticed, oh, look, there's another one on the map. So it just casually crashes while I was busy manoeuvring. But it was oh, never mind. Yeah, but then, so once I grabbed it, and then, because it was such a, if it hadn't been colliding with the planet, it would have been moving, so fast past it, it barely would have interacted anyway. So it's you don't have to do much burn adjustment to actually get it to miss the planet. And then once you've got it to miss the planet, you can make it go into the planet's sphere of influence at such a far distance from the planet that you don't even have to slow it down much to get it into an orbit.
Right.
So once I did that, and then it was just a matter of how much fuel do I have left to see how close I could get it to the planet to make its orbit smaller. Use the moon for a braking shot and do it that way. And I eventually got it. I got it all the way down into regular ass low orbit, the kind of orbit that I'd usually put a space station in, with some fuel to spare. And I was like, well, there you go.
Just waiting to collide with your space stations.
Yeah, exactly. Supposedly there's some kind of new... I mean, fairly obviously there's if you're playing in career mode, you can get new science from the asteroids.
New science!
Although I don't know what kind of science. Presumably just if you put an EVA Kerbal up there, you can probably take a surface sample or something.
Get some rock.
Because you can't actually land on it, of course, because it doesn't have a gravity well. You can just grab it.
That's what it's made of. If it's made of iron, then maybe you could have magnetic boots to...
Yeah, I don't think they're actually big enough for that. I don't know. I haven't seen the big ones. I haven't seen the small ones either. I only did this one medium one. That's why I was kind of disappointed that you can't just look at them. Because I can't actually see what these other ones
Can't
look
find
like.
it. You just have to go up in space and hope you spot one. Or...
Well, no, it's like they appear as like unknown objects in the tracking station, and then so it doesn't clutter your view. You can like scan them to see where they're going, and then choose whether to retain that information or not.
Right.
So you can have it persist. So you can actually keep track of ones that you're interested in.
So presumably, when your ship is on its way, you could cut back to the tracking station and rescan, could you? And then,
wow. It doesn't really make any difference at that point because once you've seen its orbit, you know where it's going to be. It doesn't change. So yeah, I did that.
Cool. It's nice to see that they're sort of adding sort of like, I don't know, mission-y sort of things.
Well, kinda. Apart from like it's a standalone scenario. Well, I mean, I didn't actually play the NASA missions, which are the thing is, the scenarios that they've built out for this thing don't seem to be like sort of the way all the few scenarios that exist in the game are. There, it's like it's not actually the good parts of the mission. It's like your ship is already 50 kilometers away from the asteroid. Drive it forwards until you attach. Like that's not the hard part or the interesting part. It's like launching and getting into orbit and then matching orbits. That's actually the difficult part of that mission. So yeah, obviously career mode should be a bit more hardcore than that because you'll actually have to do all the stages up to that point.
Yeah. You'll have to go through the rigmarole of getting the right science.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that was that. And I also played quite a lot more Bravely Default because
chugging through the various
well, it's like I
worlds.
got through the second world into the third world naturally, and right at the end of the second world. It's someone finally basically pointed out the thing that I sort of figured out ages ago, where it's like the fairy is the real enemy. Except, of course, that was an enemy saying that. So you were like, "What are you talking about? We don't believe you.
You're lying."
Actually, well, the guy sort of was like, "Where's the fairy? I'm going to assassinate the fairy," and it's just like that's just sort of obvious. It's like, don't bother fighting these incredibly difficult to kill humans. Just stab the fucking fairy.
Yeah.
The tiny defenseless pansy ass thing. But yeah, it's becoming slightly more like. Finally, some people in your team are starting to become vaguely suspicious of the fairy. Where it's like, maybe we shouldn't just do what this thing tells us to do all the time.
Maybe someone should like question it.
Yeah.
Perhaps ask people why they want to kill the fairy.
Yeah, exactly.
Would that help?
So that's finally starting to happen a little bit, and now we're in the third world. And there's slightly fewer bosses in the third world, it seems. Even though all I'm doing is the bosses. Like, I'm not even bothering. I've just got my encounter rate turned to 0 the whole time now. Because apparently I don't need to level up. And like a few of these bosses I've been completely owning, where it's just like, they're just not even touching me. I'm just using the same tactic, the one tactic that I've developed now, where it's just like point everyone at the counter guy and just have him counter them to death. So yeah, I've been doing that. And then the third world seems to be the nice world. Or at least that's what it looks like.
Is that why the bosses are so pansy?
Maybe. Well, they aren't actually...
They're trying to lick you to death.
Well, I guess they aren't really any different, is the thing. I've already thought that they don't seem to have changed at this point. They're not any harder, and they're also not... I think the fourth world is where they start pairing up different bosses, where you get like multiple bosses at the same time or different combos.
So you're still not sure whether there's a way to just get out of this loop?
Well, I accidentally spoiled myself on that, and it looks like there is a way, but it's like the bad ending.
Okay.
So it's like, oh, well, fuck that then.
Okay, do it properly.
Go for the true ending. It's actually... I probably wouldn't have even realised, because it's one of those classic sort of choices that aren't explicit in the game...
Right.
But sort of vaguely hinted at. Because it's like the whole thing you're doing is going around and lighting up these crystals, and it's like a button mashing sequence, basically, where it's like mash X until it lights up, I guess. But then the thing is, so from
are we going in?
Sort of, not really. Yeah. I mean, if you care about how this bad ending happens. But it's just like from all the way through the game, you're going to these temples and lighting up the crystals, and the fairy is like, okay, you have to do this. You pray to the crystal until I tell you to stop. And then,
Which itself sounds weird.
well, yeah, I guess. And then, so it's like, just mash the button until the sequence ends, basically. And that makes sense. And then, but then, like, so what you're actually meant to do to get the bad ending is after you've lit the crystal up and the fairy is like, that's enough, stop. There's a bit where basically it sort of hangs on that scene for a second or two after that text box has disappeared. And what it doesn't tell you is you can keep mashing the button at that point and blow the crystal up.
Oh, overpraying.
Yeah, it's like there's no prompt or anything, and it's just like there's
nothing happening.
There's no way you would have known that unless you sort of for some reason intuited that you could deliberately disobey that rule.
You just have to blow one, and then...
Yeah, and then it skips into this bad ending. It's just like, that's weird and dumb, but, I don't care. I'll go for the good ending, which means I have to get through another fucking 2 or 3 worlds.
Great.
I think this chapter 8 is the end of the game, and I'm on chapter 6 now. So 2 more at least. 4 worlds. I still haven't got the last job, though, so there's still that to get. And yeah, as I said, I'm blazing through it now. It's just like none of these bosses can possibly stop me, apart from when I forget what the special feature of a boss is. It's
okay.
This guy has charm. Shit, I should have put charm resistance on.
Yeah,
this is just going to make this a lot more inconvenient.
When you haven't prepared your team for it, it's
Yeah.
So this sort of like whole phase sounds vaguely disappointing to me, given how strong the game sounded up until this multi-world stuff.
Well, it's just like because they did it basically ran out of like new enemies and stuff. But also weirdly, you don't seem to have, I guess, good that they didn't make you grind anymore. Because it's like they didn't make any more content for you to grind on.
Yeah, it would have been very interesting.
On the other hand, the like super bosses that you get in your town, I like all of them apart from one in my town are level 99, so I can't do them yet because I'm only like level 77. But the one in my town that's level 70 is still well too hard at level 77. I haven't worked out quite what the tactic for that one is yet. It just seems to just like have super damage output. And it's like half magic and half physical, which is the worst combo. Because you can't defend against both.
Sort of presumably sort of resistant to both? Or?
Yeah, maybe. I don't think... I haven't really fought him long enough to see what his pattern is or what his like counter skills are, because that was the problem with the last one of those super bosses I did, where it had that stupid... where it just gains brave points every time you fucking hit it.
Yeah. That sounded bad.
It was a pain in the ass. So yeah, I might eventually get through the rest of that game.
So still going.
Yeah.
Bravely Default.
How many hours would you say you've been playing it?
I think it's over 100.
Jeez.
I think I probably got to the first of the loops at like 70-ish. It was a pretty long game, although maybe I did do some more grinding that was necessary, maybe, because I like leveling up the jobs and seeing what they had.
Figuring out what's their passive or the top level stuff.
Getting at least one of them to level 14 each time. So yeah, that was that. And then I also played quite a lot of Minecraft again, because I found another mod that I was interested in, which is like this space mod where you can like build a rocket ship and fly to the moon.
Okay.
Because space.
Kerbal Space Program.
Yeah, exactly. There's suddenly space all over the place. But of course, what I actually did was not go to the moon. I just spent forever fucking collecting resources and building a base. As always, every time I do anything in Minecraft, it's like I have this grand plan I've never actually completed Minecraft, like actually gone to the end and beat the dragon. Because every time I start doing it, I'm just like, well, I need to collect these resources and build this base. And then I get distracted because I'm like, I want to do this not like as well as I can. So yeah.
Maxing the start game.
Yeah. So I was trying to... And actually, the like all building the rocket ship and stuff does take a fucking lot of resources. So even though I'd like to do it, I still haven't actually got enough iron or whatever, because I just need to go mine some more. But then that's not actually that interesting. It's like, oh shit, I just have to mine some more, rather than doing the fun things.
Yeah, the mine part of Minecraft is not where the fun is.
No, not exactly. Makes me wish I had all the other mods that I had, like equivalent exchange and stuff, so I could just build the stupid Uber tools and explode my way through a mountain real quick.
Oh man, these are funny. Tunnel, go.
Yeah.
Woof.
That was the best tool. It's like I wish every game had it. It's like what people were saying about Starbound, and I think to some extent Terraria as well. Is like you have your pickaxe or whatever in Starbound, and it mines like a 3x3 block at once.
Right.
But your character is 4 squares tall.
Oh.
So it's exactly inconvenient for if you just want to dig a tunnel.
Yeah.
It's like, why would you do that?
That's always dig too.
So obviously people made modern tools that are like the special tunnel digging tool that digs a 4x4 square.
Yeah. Perfect.
So yeah.
So anything else? Or just those two? I mean, we dipped our toe in Guild Wars, but nothing really happened there.
Yeah, and Team Fortress and all the regular stuff.
Yeah.
What I did do in Minecraft that was sort of more interesting, like since I hadn't played it for quite a while, so some things have actually changed. But it's one of those things that I find really annoying about, because this is one of my stupid problems with like randomly generated games, is I like randomly generated stuff, like in theory, in the concept of like having a randomly generated world to explore and stuff. It's like, that's awesome. But what I don't like is when randomly generated stuff is like too random and it generates stuff badly. So it's like when you've got a village in Minecraft and it's like, oh, it's just like randomly put some houses around. It's like, that's great in theory. Apart from when it's dumb and it's like, oh, these houses cliff into each other, or like this one's halfway off a cliff or half underground or something. It's like, because then I have to go and sort that out. So like, I'm just editing the randomly generated stuff to make it nice.
I got to terraform your house, bitch.
And so I find that really annoying. So then one of the things they added in one of the later patches of Minecraft is you get zombie villagers, which are different from regular zombies.
I heard about that. Yeah.
But you can transform them back into normal villagers by doing this. You have to hit them with a potion of weakness and then feed them a golden apple and then keep them locked up until they transform back. But then that basically means you can make a village wherever you want. So I was like, oh, that's sweet, because then I don't have to deal with these shitty randomly generated villages. I can build my own, perfectly laid out. So I spent way too long doing that as well.
Especially you can't just carry the dudes to a dude vacation like your houses.
Supposedly you can sort of jip that by like just building a passageway of doors, because all they look for to detect whether a village exists is basically a door which has an inside and an outside.
Yeah, right.
So if you just build a door and one block above it to make an inside, you can just build like a chain of doors into the middle of nowhere, and they'll like figure that that's part of the village, and then you can destroy the other doors, and then they'll gradually shift their village into the distance.
It's kind of funny.
Yep. So yeah, I did that. That was Minecraft. And that's it, I guess.
Alright, we're running long, so...
Well, naturally.
I'm getting proper tired.
Yeah, I've noticed.
So I'll skip over most of what we've been playing has already been covered in the Titanfall stuff. But,
well, yeah.
I did sort of finish my runs on Papers, Please.
Yeah.
It's like... None of those endings are really particularly happy, as
you would expect.
I haven't found a good ending. Like, essentially, it all ends in disaster, either way. Or you being a bastard and escaping to a foreign country, leaving your family behind. Apparently there's ways, like, I didn't realise there's ways of... that are quite clever of you being able to forge other passports to bring the rest of your family if you want, but it doesn't spell it out to you. Right. It's not particularly clear. It's like, but when someone explained to me how that actually works, or how you could do that, it's like, that's clever. Why didn't I think of that kind of thing? So it does some neat things, and there are ways of like where you can sort of bend. Like if you sort of half do what people ask of you, but don't go the whole way, then that can end up in some interesting results. Like one of the EZIC guys asks you to kill a guy basically at one point, but you can choose not to, or you can choose to trank him instead, and then that makes the endings that result play out in slightly different ways, and they've sort of thought that stuff through a little. And I came across some more of these interesting sort of mini challenges, where like people that sort of for some reason talk to you about something or will give you something, and then there's a way of getting an achievement or something for handing it to an appropriate person, handing the thing they've randomly given you to someone else, and it's like, oh, okay, I see what you did there. That's handy. Thanks. So yeah, I think I'm done with it now. Basically, I got like a few of the endings after experimenting a little bit, but I think a few of them you have to kind of be committed from the start to achieve something,
Right.
or a few of them are probably just outright lose conditions, like your family are dead or something. You didn't heat your house at all. They all caught pneumonia and died. Stuff like that. Or say if you played through ignoring all the EZIC guys all the time and were just like, I'm not going to help you, but I need your money, so I'm going to get poor and die or something.
Right.
There must be other ways of doing it that I just can't be asked to play through another 4 or 5 hours to figure out. But it was cool. It was a cool time. And that music never gets old.
Naturally.
So the only real other thing to talk about, I guess, is I played through that.
You played through Blur.
I played through Brothers.
Right.
I don't know why I have a problem saying that. Played through Brothers. There you go, that's sort of it. I quite like that game. It's like it doesn't ever do anything particularly complex with its mechanics, I guess, but it's sort of constantly a little bit surprising how they do. You know, it's like every area is just that little bit different, and you're doing stuff in a slightly different way, and it keeps it kind of interesting and fresh. And some of the areas are kind of interesting, like the Canyon of the Giants. I won't say anymore.
Right.
But it does get its claws in you, man. Like some of the moments in that game, it's hard to. I don't know. I found it real touching. It's like it's cheese, but it's well executed cheese.
Well, it's super cheesy and it's pretty predictable.
Well, yeah, you can see where it's going like all the time, but it's like it still manages to portray itself in a pretty damn good way. I don't know. As annoying and hilarious as I thought it was at first, the sort of soundtrack involving that vocal part where it's someone basically going hee all the time, like everything is a hee. Like some, I don't know if you want to call it some crazy focal style, folk style or something. It does kind of work, and it's the stuff with the weird flying creature, and it's touching. It works, and some of the achievements are kind of clever as well. Like some of them are kind of obvious what you have to do, but others are slightly less obvious and sort of just happen. And you're like, oh, all right, okay, I see what you did there. That's kind of cool. And one of the birds was nice, and like you probably could have skipped over that one completely.
I think I missed most of them.
I did go back and it's become the only Steam game apparently I have complete achievements for. Like I've got them all because I went back and did them and figured them out. And it's it's a cool game. It's a cool game. Doesn't outstay its welcome.
I'm not sure it's worth the acclaim people give it though.
I'm sort of with you. Yeah, I was about to come to that conclusion. It is good, and it is. I think people rate it a little bit too highly because of that emotional resonance. It's like as an actual game, the actual sort of mechanical person in me is sort of like, well, it's not actually that inventive. It's not actually that strong. And there are moments where the control just doesn't kind of work very well. Like. There's a moment in chapter 3, I think it is, where you're having to hold off wolves, and sometimes when it considers you dead or when it considers it a fail condition, it's a bit weird. It doesn't feel right at all. It's like what just happened? I seem to have died for no reason. And there are moments like that where some stuff just glitches out, or where you're trying to do something that you know is the solution to a problem, but you can't do it for some reason. Like I can't make this object move through this space, or I can't make this. And you totally can. It's just sometimes you have to sort of jiggle it, and it's some odd moments like that. So I was trying to play through it as well, sort of being aware of how the achievements sort of work, like, and not what they were, not what the solution was, but kind of that they were just things that happened in the world that you had to, which sometimes leads to you cocking about in places, obviously, where the achievement doesn't even make sense, and it's like, oh, maybe it's something to do with this. It's like, no, it's not. It's just nice. It's a bit of a spectacle, and it's kind of cool for that. And some of the... Don't be too annoyed with if you miss the achievements, because some of them are kind of finicky. Like, there's a couple I stumbled upon completely by accident that when I then looked up to see, okay, what did I just do? And it's like, oh, actually, this is kind of just... If I had moved like a couple of steps to further forward or something, or if I had pulled the other trigger, I'd never have got this, or I'd never have known that it was an achievement point. You know, things like that. There are some that are a little finicky that I just got incredibly lucky with, whereas others are kind of obvious once you look at the achievement picture, and they're just like, oh, I've got to do that, right, with you. So yeah, it's really cool, and you should play it. But I would recommend it, but I don't think it would have been up there on our Game of the Year list for things. Maybe for music. I do like the score, as crazy it is with the He Lady. But it's yeah. And also, I'm not sure I'm completely sold by their fake language.
I thought it was real Swedish or something.
Oh, is it?
Let's hope not.
I thought it was.
Sorry, Swedes.
Well, maybe not Swedish, but I thought it was a real... I don't know, maybe I'm making that up.
Maybe.
I probably am.
I sort of kind of wish that they didn't speak, is the problem. It sort of was a bit distracting. That I think maybe I would have got more immersed if, for some reason, they didn't talk. Or they didn't have those scenes where they're obviously sort of having a conversation with each other, but there's no translation, or there's no... It's like, I think it's okay when they're doing like the odd, like, or sort of like a point at something, or the words that you eventually work out to be the brothers' names, or the way that they refer to each other. But it's... Those one-off sort of statements are fine, but when there's like a conversation going on, it's like, this is just totally taking me out of the world for a second, because it's like, I'm like, what the fuck's going on? And if it is a real language, it's like, well, I'm sorry, but your language sounds like a made-up language.
Well, if it is a real language, surely that would ruin it for people who know that language.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe it's a completely
Probably
different...
is made up, but I'm just sure I read somewhere that it...
Maybe it's a completely different
It could
experience.
be based on a real language, I guess.
Yeah, it's not like Sine Mora, where it is like Hungarian or something. Where it's like, but who's going to know that? Hungarians, yeah. That's pretty much what I've been doing, I'd say, outside of... I haven't really started anything new. I was contemplating whether Batman should be the next thing to go to. Although, because I'm playing on my Xbox, I'm basically just playing the shooters. And it's like, do I want to really start... Although shooters make up the bulk of my backlog, do I really want to start another shooter? Like on the PC, like Far Cry or Binary Domain or something. Just yet, I'm not sure.
What else is there?
Well, there's Batman.
Yeah, that's almost a shooter.
I might start the
In
new...
some ways.
I haven't played Unbounded yet, like the Ridge Racer.
Right.
I like the occasional dip into arcade racer territory. Even if it's terrible, it's still kind of enjoyable. Yeah, I don't really know. Mild news.
Sudden mild news at the end of the podcast.
I just only remembered. Partly because of, like, this was the point in, like, one of the previous podcasts where we started talking about Senran Kagura Burst and the ridiculousness of it.
Right, yeah.
And I really shouldn't have gone down that rabbit hole. That game is much, much worse than the pictures we'd already saw and were slightly freaked out about. Or...
There totally isn't a demo of it.
Oh, is there not?
No.
Because you can't even see the
I'm
ridiculousness.
disappointed.
Yeah. if you're not at work, you might want to look what we're talking about. I don't know. You might not want to. It's weird. I've totally forgotten my train of thought.
What was your wild news that was related to that?
Because I noticed that it was made by Marvelous AQL,
Right.
who made 30-Second Hero,
Yeah.
and that there's a sequel coming. There's a 30-Second Hero 2,
Okay.
which is a bit weird because the game kind of structured itself on being a series of ridiculous sequels. So it's like the heroes, like 30-Second Hero 4 or something was level 4.
Right.
So there's more of that to come. I quite liked that. So it's like, but it did sort of start to wear thin.
Yeah.
So like, I hope they come up with some cool new stuff to make it work again. So yeah, that was my news. I suddenly remembered.
Suddenly.
Friend notifications are back on Xbox One. Yay.
Oh yeah, because you're in the beta program, aren't you? So
I can see when people come online.
yeah. They've done sensible stuff with that, and so like the notifications only appear for like your favourites list, and
Where you can choose, I think.
yeah, that makes a bit of sense.
Yeah, the favourites list is awesome.
Because it would be cool sometimes if I'm playing Titanfall and it does the old 360 thing of you have friends playing this game, like so you can just immediately join your game, or vice versa. If I see you log into something I'm playing, it's like Kippers is now playing your game, and it's like, oh cool.
Because that's part of the problem. Like when I'm playing something and say you're not online, I have no idea when you come online. So it's like I wouldn't know if I could like send you a say, oh, do you want to play this? 'Cause I wouldn't know you're there.
You have to find yourself doing that slightly awkward process of going back home, going to the Friends app, and I really hope they at some point make the Friends panel snappable.
Well, you can snap activity, which is kind of similar-ish.
Kinda, yeah, but it's not the same. I just want to be able to have that 360 thing, so when, like, say, Titanfall is loading a map, or I'm waiting for the countdown timer to finish, I can pull up the friends list to see if you've turned up or something, but still see whether or not the game is loaded in the background, so I don't miss anything. And it's like...
Well, it does have that thing that it says your game is now ready when it's... But I don't know when it does it. I don't know.
I've had that come up on Titanfall once, where it says that there's a game for your party, and I'm like, really? What does that mean? I'm not in a party. And then I've gone to it and it's just put me in a lobby.
Yeah, I never know when it kicks in, because you can go away and it will come up with this when you're not in the game to let you know it's ready, but I don't know.
I think that just means you've connected to a lobby of some kind.
It could be that, yeah.
Yeah. Whether that means the game has started or not, I doubt it. I think
Probably not.
I think it just means you've moved to a different server connection. So yeah, that's me. This is probably the least I've talked about games I've played for a long time.
Okay.
Out of necessity this week.
Maybe.
So thank you for joining us for this slightly extended episode of the Saladcast. I'm losing my ability to say words real good.
So the many of them that you had to start with.
The pop-up menu happening.
Yeah, the menu.
And I'm picking all the wrong options. Presumably Dan will be who got well. And we'll be back next time. There's another Final Fantasy video to go up soon. Well, I say soon. I'm really
At some point.
not looking forward to the editing on that one. You'll see why. It actually involves me doing some editing.
Yep. That's why.
This isn't how we work here.
Yeah, we're always raw cuts.
Cut deep, man. Cut deep. Thank you to Kippers for joining us. Don't forget to check out the website www.happysalad.net. happysalad.net. To see more podcasts, videos and things. YouTube channel is Happy Salad. Facebook page is Facebook.com/HappySaladNet. And the Twitter feed is @Saladcast. For some reason I said cast instead of cast. Cast. Mixing that. Give us your podcast impression, Kips.
Podcast! I added some wobbly probably.
That was quite gross. End.
And we're done.
Pizza. Podcast!
Yes.
Yep.